Hello, hello, hello. I am Moraduke. It is that time of the year again in 2019. I'm sorry this video is a little delayed, but this is really the only chance I have to record this, so we're just going to get right into it here. I'm going to introduce my special guests I have sitting here with me. As you can see, this is Pikachu, enjoying his little super berry, or whatever this is. Next, we have the Hunter from Blood-Borne, this little badass here. So if your demon's watching for some reason from some other realm that YouTube somehow connects to, you might be a little intimidated by this guy, but you know, that's just how he rolls. Like, the Hunter's my homie. Like, Blood-Borne's the reason I bought a PS4, so you know, he deserves to be here, so you're just gonna have to get used to it. Alright, and last but certainly not least, we have Sackboy chilling on my PS4 up there, and we also have Inky, my boy Inky here. He looks pretty gangster wearing that hat. If you're asking why he's wearing a hat and he looks gangster, that's just how Inky rolls, okay? Don't take it up with me, take it up with him. Take it up with the ghost. Now that that's out of the way, we can get right to my E3 notes here. And to kick things off, we're going to talk about a little pre-show stuff with E3 that happened, a few leaks that happened. You know, as time goes on, more and more leaks happen before the conference, which kind of takes the wind out of the sails for the conference, but a lot has been taking the wind out of E3 recently. Whether it's the ESRB, whether it's, you know, being deep in the information age, and there's not really a need for E3 anymore. So it might be a thing of the past completely very soon. Who knows? But the week leading up to E3, there was some interesting tidbits of notes, or, you know, notes, news that have been announced. To start things off, there were 3 compilations of older Dungeons and Dragons types games that were only previously available on the PC, but they're making their way to consoles via enhanced ports. There's 3 compilations total. The first 2 I'm going to name will be available on September 24th in North America and September 27th everywhere else worldwide. Also, about a week after that, on, what is it, December 3rd? Yeah, December 3rd in North America. December 6th elsewhere, so this also has a 3-day delay, is the last compilation. So the first 2 are going to be Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. This is Baldur's Gate, the Enhanced Edition pack. It's going to be Baldur's Gate 1, Tales of the Sword Coast, that area in Baldur's Gate 2, and the Throne of Baal expansion. And also, there's going to be new story content that bridges the gap between the 2 games. So that's pretty cool. If you have the time to invest in Baldur's Gate, absolutely do it. It's absolutely one of the best RPGs I played on the PC. I mean, I had to read a manual like that big, that thick, that came in the original version that was on like 5 CD-ROMs. But it was worth it. It was a giant pain in the ass to swap CDs constantly when I was going through areas and stuff. But I think later on there was ways that people figured out how to, you know, shorten the load times, or you know, some modding ability that came with it. I think there was also a DVD release for it. But anyway, moving on. I'm going to try not to go off on too many tangents here. So, but that's just how Moraduke rolls. So if I do, hey, it comes with the territory. Whew. The second compilation is going to be Planescape Torment combined with Icewind Dale. Icewind Dale is going to have its Heart of Winter expansion, as well as other areas that got added to the game later on, post-release. That's going to be those 2 games bundled together. And the last one is going to be Neverwinter Nights. That's going to come with all the previous content and DLC that was available with the PC version. I think the last PC version was the Diamond Edition. But this release is going to have 10 standalone modules that were released previously for the game. So I don't know how those games are going to work so well with a controller, but we'll see when they come out. I would love to give them a test drive and see what they're all about. Even though nowadays I'm living that dad life, you know, and I don't have that much time to do any of this anymore. You know, the thought of starting an RPG scares the living daylights out of me, because at this rate I'll probably finish it in a year if I were to start like Skyrim or Baldur's Gate or something. But anyway, moving on. Whew. Pro tip before you're about to record a video for the internet: don't eat half a tray of pizza from Pizza Hut. Man, I love that Meat Lover's Pizza, but it doesn't love me nearly as much. Anyway, it was also announced new content was coming to Mortal Kombat 11. A new bundle of characters were released for that. Shang Tsung, of course, highlighting that. That's being played by the actor that was in the first movie that came out back in the 90s. He's going to be followed by Nightwolf from MK3, Sindel, and Spawn. And I think there were 2 more characters, guest characters as well. So they became available. Cuphead, if you remember Cuphead, the notoriously difficult but awesome platformer. That's going to be playable in Tesla Model 3, Model S, and Model X cars for some reason, okay? And I know there was DLC very, very recently announced that got, it's definitely being worked on, but it got pushed back to next year. They cited because they're not trying to crunch their employees, like all these stories that have happened with crunch in the video game industry and employees basically working themselves to death in certain divisions and stuff like that. It's really, you know, really interesting and tragic stuff that, you know, there's a lot of dark shit going on in the video game industry that, you know, let's just say everyone needs to be more aware about. But going back to Cuphead here, that's a story for another time. Yeah, and I wrote here, because when I think comfortable ways to play a challenging platformer, it's on a small screen in a moving car. They said this is obviously not going to have touch controls. You're going to have to hook like a USB controller to it or something, but I don't know. I thought that was an interesting tidbit of news. Not the first game I would pick to play in a moving car, though. I'm just saying. Then again, Cuphead is on the Switch now, isn't it? So, yeah. Technically, that's a portable console too, but whatever. Moving on. So I thought that was interesting. Sony launches another Days of Play sale from June 7th to June 17th, with prices being temporarily reduced on games, consoles, and more. That happened. Microsoft did a similar sale during E3. I think I have this in my notes as well. So even though Sony wasn't at E3, they definitely knew what time it was because they've been there practically every other time. So Watchdogs Legion got leaked before E3. Much to not really to the surprise of anybody, the rumor mill has been spinning strong that they're working for another Watch Dogs. The first 2 Watch Dogs games sold reasonably well, so it only makes sense they'd eventually make a third one. I don't think people knew it was going to be this early. Maybe some people thought it was going to be a next-gen title. I don't know. I'm indifferent towards it because I have the first 2 Watch Dogs games on Xbox One and I haven't played either one of them. I have a backlog that could probably run alongside the Great Wall of China at this point. That I'm so far behind. And don't even get me started on all the movies and TV shows and music I still have to listen to and watch. So it's crazy. Yeah, that got leaked ahead of E3 on June 4th, which basically forced Ubisoft's hand to announce it. I think it was less than 24 hours later on the 5th of June, because it got leaked everywhere and there was enough information out that Ubisoft said, yeah, we're making it. You'll see more at E3, which they showed a little more there. Rocksteady announced the new game they are working on will in fact not be at E3. So we know they're working on something. We don't know exactly what it is, but no sign of Rocksteady anywhere at E3. Is it another superhero game? I don't know. No one really knows, unless something came out very, very recently that I didn't see. Nintendo announced June's Nintendo. They announced the new set of NES games for June. Volleyball, City Connection, Double Dragon 2. Probably the best Double Dragon game ever released, as far as I'm concerned. You know, Double Dragon 2, The Revenge, come on, that's a fantastic game. They just recently announced that they are looking into other retro games they want to put on their online service, so we'll see if that leads to Super Nintendo games, Super Famicom games, God forbid N64 games. Like, we'll see. But yeah, there's a lot of people voicing displeasure with the Nintendo games being released on the online service, which I have to say, and I'm no Nintendo fanboy by any means, that we're lucky we're getting anything at all at this point after Nintendo released the NES Mini and the SNES Mini. Like, they could have just wiped their hands from it and been done with it. this online service is only $20 a year as opposed to $60 a year for PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live. So it could be worse. Not totally excusing them. I mean, they could build a lot more features around their online service, but, you know, it's not the end of the world like some people are thinking. I watch these announcement videos on YouTube, and people are downvoting this like crazy. When are we getting SNES games? When they're ready to release them. That's when you're getting them, if they decide to release them at all. Okay? This is gaming in 2019, baby. You gotta be happy with whatever you get at this point. Especially when it's from companies like Konami that said they were pretty much done with video games, and then they came back and released some compilations. I mean, at least we're getting something. Not saying that's completely protected from any type of criticism, but, you know, some people and some video game fans are just a really hypersensitive lot. That's the nicest thing I could say about it. You know, the service will have more games on it, but, you know, between those 3 games, I can think of a hell of a lot worse you could put on there. At least we didn't get, like, fucking The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle or some shit. I'll take volleyball over that any day. And here's a bit of news. Here's one of the tangents I want to go into. And I'm going to try not to spend too long on this, but it's something that bothers me a great deal. Minecraft Story Mode has completely disappeared from both purchase and re-download, regardless of platform, on June 25th. To quote IGN's article on this, those who already purchased the seasons will be unable to download them indefinitely later this month. This is bullshit. Okay. Preservation is a very important thing. It's getting more and more important as the video games in general get more, you know, gather more fans, gather more attention. Even these corporations, these developers, they're starting to realize that people love to go back and play older games once in a while. You know, they love to pop in a game they played 10 years ago, even if it's just for 10 minutes or 10 hours. And they like to relive those memories. They like for their kids to play the games they played. You know, and it's important for all future generations to go back and play these amazing games, these landmark games. And I would even go a step further or two and say, no matter how stupid the game was, no matter how badly reviewed it was, it needs to be preserved somehow. So, you know, it came out, people played it, it's a part of history. I mean, just thinking about all of the music that's been lost by great artists, the movies that have been lost, different versions of movies that have been lost, versions of great songs, and video games, different variants of video games, demos of video games, just final versions of video games that have completely disappeared are gone. You can't get Minecraft Story Mode. You can't get all the episodes for it anymore. It's gone. Whatever server it was on, they pulled the plug. It's over. The only fucking way you can play these games now is if A, you have them, you downloaded them before June 25th or whenever the cutoff time was, and even if you have those games stored on your console that you purchased them on, if you reinitialize that system or format that system, or God forbid you sell that system to anyone, well, even if you did, it'd be tied to your account, so they wouldn't have it. Then, if something happens to the games on that system, it's over. It's done. Say your system breaks, if those games aren't tied to your account, you can't get them back, because you can't re-download them. I mean, I can see if you already purchased them and you can re-download them. That's happened to a whole bunch of games on Steam, GOG, even on Xbox, I mean, even on the Xbox store. Like, I can think of 2 perfect examples, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2. They got pulled from the store, most probably because of licensing issues, that's happened to a lot of Marvel and DC games. The license just runs out and they don't renew it, or they can't come to a new agreement and, you know, reissue a contract and put them back on the store. I'm happy I bought those games when they were on sale, because next thing I knew, people were complaining about that they were gone. I think mere weeks after I bought them, so I'm glad I bought them. And I could still re-download them because I purchased them. You can't do that with Minecraft Story Mode, which is fucking bullshit. The only way you can play those games, like the point I was trying to make before, was You either A, you were lucky enough to download them in time on your system and you have to keep them on there, you can't delete them, you can't format the system or they're gone forever. Or two, and this is where I'm so glad these people exist, is this group of enthusiasts, some people are pirates, call them whatever you want, is you can download a pirated copy of the game and play it. Because someone out there was lucky enough to preserve it. You know, Telltale's gone. Whoever's associated with Minecraft Story Mode, they don't fucking give a shit anymore if you can still play the game or not. It's gone. I mean, everyone who bought it, so who cares, right? Except for people who would have purchased it in the future. There's a lot of Minecraft fans out there, and this isn't specific to Minecraft Story Mode. This goes for many, many other games that have disappeared, okay? Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game. You know how I'm able to play that? Because the delisting happened way before I caught wind of it, that I saw the movie and actually wanted to play the game, and it's a pretty badass game. You know, it's no River City Ransom, but there's not a whole lot of games I compare to River City Ransom, so it's not like it's a packed genre or anything like that. But I have it on my soft-modded PS3. That's the only way I can play it. Because my 360 isn't soft-modded, and I can't buy it from the Xbox store anymore. If I could buy it from the Xbox store, I would be more than happy to. Probably would have made the backward compatibility list on Xbox One that just recently cut off. Because that team's working on games for the next console, which I'll get to in E3 news. But it raises two things in my mind. One, video games need to be preserved. There's got to be dedicated groups out there doing this. Like more assertive action needs to be taken on preserving these games. We've lost enough of them already. People should not have to go through illegal means to play them if they want to play them ever again, especially if they bought them. Okay, what about all the games on the Nintendo eShop, the Wii Shop that recently closed down? They made it adamant that if you purchase those games, you can't re-download them. The servers are gone. Even if you spent money on them, oh well, guess you're fucked. Guess you have to borrow someone's system that has those games on them or soft mod the system and pirate them. I mean, it works. It's I wouldn't say it's a legitimate way to play them, depending on your morals and ethics and stuff, but when it's the only way to fucking play the shit you bought already, people should not have to go through those nefarious ways to play something they already paid for. It's ridiculous. So that pissed me off, but we got a long way to go here, so I'm just going to move on. But video game preservation needs to be... They need to be more... It needs to be talked about more. It needs to be, discussed. Like, more measures need to be taken against games that this happens to. It sucks that the licensing goes away, but that shouldn't mean that all, future people that are looking back on Minecraft, for Minecraft Story Mode example, and want to play it, now they can't play it. They just can't play it anymore. It's ridiculous. Like I said before, Microsoft started its own E3 sale. They had a special edition Fortnite Xbox One S that was like a deep purple cover that looked kind of neat. That was on sale for $249. And they also had sales on games, controllers, consoles, just like Sony did as well. An Uncharted movie, for the 10 of you that wanted to watch an Uncharted movie with Tom Holland playing Nathan Drake. That comes out in December 2020, so that's a little ways off, but it's definitely in the works. Darksiders announced a spin-off game called Darksiders Genesis. It's an action RPG Diablo-like game that's coming out later this year for all modern platforms, so PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, I think all four of those. So when I say modern platforms, consider it's all four of those, with a few exceptions, but still. Death Stranding, probably one of the more important pieces of news that got leaked before E3. Finally got a gameplay trailer, and not only that, but it's coming out this year, November 4th, November 8th it's coming out. That game looks really cool. I still have no fucking idea what it's about, but Hideo Kojima has not disappointed me yet. So I mean, the man made Snatcher, he made Policenauts, which I still haven't played Policenauts, and the Metal Gear series, so, which all have probably some of the best storytelling I've ever played in any game ever. So the man basically has impunity in my mind at this point. So I can't wait to try it out, see what that's all about, because there's going to be a lot of hubbub when that releases. Also, speaking of high-profile releases, Call of Duty Modern Warfare is getting a complete reboot. You know, Infinity Ward has completely run out of ideas when they are just, you know, unplugging everything and just wiping the slate clean. And it's going to be this gritty retelling with Captain Price. I don't know if all the other supporting characters from the Modern Warfare games are going to be in it, but I don't know if we'll see Soap McTavish again, but Captain Price is definitely there, and it promises to be more gritty, more realistic, you know. So we'll see what happens with that. I watched the reveal trailer, which didn't reveal a whole lot, so, but it's Call of Duty, so I mean, we'll see how many liberties they take with this retelling of the Modern Warfare franchise. That comes out October 25th. Last, before we get into proper E3 news, is this game called Blasphemous was announced. It was announced on the June 4th. It's a sweet-looking, gory, like 2D game. Looks really, really cool. It's like a cross between, I don't know, like maybe a little Castlevania-ish in places. But it's more fast and fluid than Castlevania. Lots of gore. Looks really cool. That is coming to Steam and Xbox One later this year, possibly other platforms if it does well. So that brings us to Google Stadia's conference. I say conference in air quotes, because they didn't really show a whole lot. Google did a whole lot of barking, but nobody quite felt its bite. And I'm telling you right now, with Google Stadia, really all I can say about it, I have like one small paragraph here because they didn't show a lot. Well, let me read this off first. Before I put anything, I find it hard to believe a service where you need a consistent 35 megabit connection to play games in 4K you don't own whatsoever is really going to catch on. This thing is either going to burn and crash and burn spectacularly, or it's going to do gangbusters. And I just see it doing more of the former than the latter. That's just me. Stadia Pro is $10 a month because we're going hard into the subscription age now. You know, there's Xbox Live, there's Xbox Game Pass, there's PlayStation Plus, there's Nintendo's online service, there's EA Access, Origin Access, Uplay Plus Access that got announced during Uplay. Square Enix is looking into a subscription service, and tons and tons and tons and tons more. You know, on the PC alone, you have Steam, you have good old games, and now you have the Epic Game Launcher, and Blizzard has its own account in store, technically. Just, man, you know, everyone wants a piece of the pie. It's just like what's been happening to Netflix. HBO Go happened, Disney is starting its own service, if that didn't start already. You know, everyone wants their own piece of the pie now, because a whole bunch of companies can't just come under one umbrella anymore and make it convenient for everybody. Sure, they want to say they want to make it convenient, but they're doing it under the guise of, they're doing it the guise of convenience, under having more control over what you own, as Jim Sterling recently said in one of his Jimquisitions that I enjoy watching. Thank God for him. So, Google Stadia. Founders Edition, they announced. You can pre-order it. It comes with a Chromecast Ultra, limited night blue controller, your exclusive name on the service, which they came out post-conference after this, and they said, yeah, you can change your name for free once. Yay. Boy, thanks for relinquishing all that control, Google. Let's not go crazy here. Let's pull in the reins a little bit. Limited edition night blue controller, your exclusive name, and 3 prepaid months of the service for $129. Oh, but that's not all. You know, I can see it's going to take a little bit more to put your seat in this car and drive off this lot. So, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw in Destiny 2 with the service. Not just Destiny 2, mind you, because you can't play that fucking game anywhere else and actually own a fucking disc. It includes the new Shadowkeep DLC that comes out this fall. So you get the new DLC and Destiny 2. Because it's not like you can play Destiny 2 on the PC, the PS4, or the Xbox One. You can't play it on any of those. And chances are you probably have one or more of those devices already. You get it free for pre-ordering Stadia. Not just any model of Stadia, but the Founders Edition, the $129 one. Our internet infrastructure is pathetic. You have the same 3 or 4 companies in the United States of America that pretty much own a monopoly on, all of our, all of our internet service. Unless you're very, very lucky and you're living in very limited areas, like say Chattanooga, Tennessee, that has their own internal network that's run by the city. Or you're lucky to maybe have like a Fios line, a fiber optic line somewhere. Like my friend down in Tennessee has gigabit internet. You download something, you blink your eyes, and it's done. If you're lucky to have something like that, great. This service will probably, act like it's advertised. But even then, it's not that great of a deal because again, you don't own anything. How are you going to play Google Stadia games offline? Steam has an offline mode. If I go offline with my other consoles are over here on the shelf, you can't see, but my Xbox One or my PS4, I'm sure there's a way to play some of those games offline at least. How are you going to do that with Stadia? You don't have a device to keep your games on. You're paying them access to a data server they can do whatever the fuck they want with. You don't own anything in this. Yeah, you're getting a limited controller. Woo! Great. What are you going to do with the controller when the service no longer works? When the servers are down for maintenance? When they disconnect the service? When they take certain games on it? Off of it. If you're in the middle of a game and it's not on the service anymore, well, fuck you, I guess. You're not playing that game anymore. Unless you go to another platform, which is kind of what you should have done in the first place. I don't know, guys. This is something I got to see in action. This is something like the tech websites. They all got to take it, go hands-on with it, tear it down, review it inside and out. Like, I want to see this thing. I want to see everything about this service and how it runs. And I'm not going to be totally surprised when it's basically shit. Granted, I could be wrong. A broken clock's only right twice a day, so maybe it'll be the next big thing since sliced bread, but I highly, highly fucking doubt it. I've been playing games since I was 4 years old. This is not my first rodeo with things being advertised to me and marketing bullshit. It's happening time and time again, over and over again, so we'll see what happens with Google Stadia. And that's really all I have to say about it. Then we get to EA, and I'm not going to spend too much time on EA because this was one of the most bland, by-the-numbers conferences I think anybody could have done. Absolutely probably the blandest conference of this year. They showed exactly what they were going to talk about ahead of time. They did like a couch sit-down interview type thing with a few different hosts, like the PC gaming show did for the past few years. And basically I'm gonna run through this real quick because it's not a whole lot of things to talk about. Greg Miller was the first host that talked to a couple of Respawn's developers for Jedi Fallen Order. This is the first time it was shown at E3, but it was shown again in Microsoft's conference. So if you missed out on E3's conference, you really didn't miss out on anything at all, because people knew going into this that this was going to be the most interesting thing EA was going to talk about by a mile. Jedi Fallen Order looks cool. They showed some gameplay. Some people think it looks kind of slow, looks kind of boring. I think it looks cool. Maybe it's just for the fact that I got a little bedazzled by all those special like Jedi moves, like throwing your lightsaber like a boomerang and shit like that. It looks more akin to something like maybe Uncharted or the new Tomb Raider games, more than actual, like, I don't know, a Star Wars action game has previously been. Like, they've been a little more fast-paced in the past and stuff. So we'll see when it comes out. But I'm telling you right now, don't pre-order this. In true EA fashion, this thing's going to come out, it's going to come out, I know they said the release date. When was the release date? I know it's going to come out this year. Fast forward just a little bit. Yeah, November 15th. I would almost bet my left nut. This game's going to come out on November 15th. This game's going to be like half the price by Christmas. Because that's how EA games roll. Every single fucking time I've pre-ordered a Battlefield game, I've immediately regretted it. Because it's went on sale like half price for the holidays. And I wasn't that stupid with Battlefield 5 that came out last year. I got that on sale, and I got the deluxe edition upgrade for super cheap. But I still, if I waited just a little bit, I could have saved money on it. You know? My voice. Oh, get a little bit of that Diet Dr. Pepper. My voice is already starting to run dry. But yeah, don't pre-order this. The bonuses are probably going to be bullshit. The game's not going to be as good as people are making it out to be, and it's going to be half price like 2 or 3 weeks after it comes out. For like $20-$30, this game looks okay. But that's like the lens I'm looking at it through. So that was really the big thing out of EA. What else did they talk about? Yeah, third-person action has wall running straight out of Titanfall, which isn't a big surprise because it's Respawn. Shows the protagonist infiltrating an Imperial base. You have a little robot sidekick, which assists you and provides a little comic relief. You have a slow-mo effect, force pulls, like I said, throwing the sword and it comes back to you. That's pretty cool. Deflecting blaster shots, which stormtroopers shouldn't be able to hit shit anyway, but if they didn't hit you once in a while, they wouldn't be much of a challenging enemy in a video game now, would they? So, yeah, it comes out November 15th. Apex Legends, they talked about some Season 2 stuff they're going to roll out. New hero was introduced, Watson. The L-Star LMG is going to come to Apex Legends. Balance changes. There's new content coming to the Battle Pass, which is going to make up for the Season 1 Battle Pass, which was a little underwhelming. I haven't played much Apex Legends. I played one match and I won my first match with 2 teammates, 2 randos on the internet. So I quit while I was on top. That's all I'm saying. I'll pick it back up at some point when I have time to play the million other things I'm behind on. Battlefield 5, there's 3 new multiplayer maps set in Greece, North Africa, and also an indoor map called Operation Underground where they got, what's that word? I guess inspiration, that's the word I'm looking for, from Operation Locker in Battlefield 4, so that's where that comes from. And they're also bringing back some 1943 elements to the game, which is interesting. Iwo Jima's coming back, as well as the M1 Garand, which is pretty much the weapon to use in Battlefield 1943. I think it was like one of the only weapons to use if you played the Rifleman, I think it was. So that's all coming to Battlefield 5 in the near future. FIFA 20, they have a new street mode in FIFA 20, as well as promises of more customization, improved controls, systems, yada yada yada. Same thing they say every year. Speaking of sports games, Madden 20, I wrote, why is Trevor Noah from The Daily Show here? Apparently, at the start of the FIFA 20 segment, they brought out Trevor Noah to talk about, in the Madden segment, they brought Trevor Noah out from The Daily Show to talk about FIFA when they just started the Madden section. So I'm not sure why. I don't know. Apparently he's a big FIFA fan. Okay, great. Video games. We quick cut to Ben Irving, lead producer of Anthem. Oh boy. I literally write oh boy here. Anthem. Man, what a fucking dumpster fire the development of that game was, huh? Go read Jason Schreier's article at Kotaku. I'm like pointing over there like the fucking website's right off camera there. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing anymore. Yeah, the development of that game at BioWare, what BioWare's become. You want to talk about a development studio that's a shadow of its former self? Man. I don't even know how that game shipped. I don't know how they started working on that game so long ago and scrambled to get it finished, and it barely even resembled an alpha when it shipped to stores. I mean, I don't think anyone's playing that game anymore. Go to the subreddit on Reddit for Anthem. The Anthem subreddit. I think it's called Anthem the Game. And there's people asking there because this game is constantly going down in price, like over and over and over. Like, I think you can literally get the Legion of Dawn edition, which is like the special edition that came out when the game launched back in February, was it? And it's on sale at Best Buy right now for like $20. And people are asking, should I buy it? And everyone's like, no! No, 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 no. If you see it, not only don't buy it, like fucking sprint the other way. Like, don't even, like, it's poison. Don't touch it, don't look at it, pretend it's not even there. You know, like, because I don't think anyone's playing that anymore. I mean, they gotta do something super fucking drastic to bring it back. Say what you want about Fallout 76 and how much of a burning car crash that game was when it came out. At least they're kind of, sort of making an effort to fix it. At least that game's salvageable, only because it has legs under the Fallout name and it's garnered a fan base. This is a brand new IP. I mean, this game crashed and burned. This plane crashed and burned before it even got off the runway. I don't even think it made it all the way down the runway before it burst into flames. So, man, I think Anthem's done. But, you know, kudos to Ben Irving for showing his face at E3 this year. Man, he looked so... He looked troubled. Just a little bit. For... You know, I would be too if I inherited that kind of mess. But, man, Godspeed to that team and everything, because I don't know how they're going to turn it around. I've been wrong before, and I wish those guys the best of luck, but whew, I hope everyone involved in that mess learned a very valuable lesson. You know, you only have one chance to make a first impression. He said they're focusing on getting updates out as fast as possible, listening to the community. Part of me says it's too little too late, but we'll see. Now we get to Madden 20. There's a new career mode called Face of the Franchise. Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs is the new cover athlete for this year's iteration. NFL draft experience, improved playbook with new formations, run pass option plays, blah blah blah. New missions and ultimate team mode. Closed beta happened from June 14th to the 16th, so if you're a big Madden fan, I'm sure you got in on that weekend. The career mode, you create a quarterback from 1 of 10 schools and start competing in the NCAA playoffs. So I guess that's all the NCAA content you're going to get in football, video game-wise anymore, unless you go back and play the older ones. Like NCAA Football 14, like 2014, it's like over $100 on eBay for a used copy, because I think that was the last one to come out. Because I'm looking to get like Xbox 360 games, because there's a whole bunch of 360 games I missed out on that didn't make the cut for backwards compatibility. Excuse me, on Xbox One, and thankfully there's not that many rare ones, but that's definitely one that caught my eye. $100 for a football game? Fuck. Finally, EA closed out with The Sims 4. This series is 20 years old now. There's your little factoid about if you want to feel old or not. Yikes. 20 years old. Island Living is the latest expansion. New outfits, volcanoes, dolphins, marine biologist shit, and new innovative features. They actually made a big deal out of this. New innovative features like walking in open water. Holy shit! We have arrived, people. Put your fucking VR headsets away. You can walk in open water in The Sims now. It's over. It's done. We've reached peak video games. Walking in open water. Man, finally. I thought that was never going to happen before I died. Moschino, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Moschino stuff pack is coming later this year with a bunch of outfits and shit. Realm of Magic game pack is coming this fall, so more stuff packs. They literally used to call it stuff. like from the older DLC, like expansion packs for The Sims back on the PC. It's like night living stuff and baby stuff and mowing the lawn stuff. Like, it was the most like generic DLC. Like, it was so generic they couldn't even think of a creative name for it. So here's a bunch of stuff. But that was always the end of the DLC packs. It was just stuff. That's really about it for EA. No frills, you know, short and sweet. I think the conference was barely an hour and a half or something. So no frills there. Then we move on to Microsoft, who by contrast had way more shit to talk about. Probably more shit than anybody else. Next to maybe the PC Gaming Conference, which I caught some of. Microsoft kicked things off with Obsidian's new game, The Outer Worlds. It looks like what the new Fallout game should have been. That comes out October 25th. Looks cool. Ronnie Tucker and Dom Matthews from Ninja Theory came out on stage to introduce Bleeding Edge, which is their new game. Remember, they got acquired from Microsoft last year. Yeah, it's a 4v4 online melee combat game. Kind of looks like Overwatch, except, you know, more of a focus on melee combat than guns. So everyone's Genji, basically. Here's your 4 versus 4 Genji game that you've been wanting. I don't know. No release date, but the technical alpha starts on June 27th, which already happened. February 11th, 2020 is when the new Ori game comes out. The Will of the Wisps game looks amazing, but that goes without saying. Ori's fucking awesome. Go play Ori if you haven't already. Trailer for a new Minecraft game that is ripping off Diablo. It's called Minecraft Dungeons. That comes out on spring 2020. I'm sure that'll have its audience. I really didn't care for this one. Then our boy Phil Spencer comes out on stage. He says total in the conference total there's going to be 60 games they're going to talk about. 14 games from their own studios. Over 30 games debuting on Game Pass. So basically, if it's a game coming out on Xbox One, it's going to come out on Game Pass on release day, which is pretty cool if you have Game Pass, which they made a bit of an alteration to that, which I'll get to in just a minute. Project xCloud is well into the works and will soon be a reality, so fuck you, Google Stadia. Okay, that was a nice backhand to Google Stadia here. It's like, hey, we're an established gaming platform. Oh, and that cute little streaming thing you're going to do for $10 a month? Yeah, that's going to be included in Xbox Live, at least I'm assuming it is. And we're going to do it a million times better than you guys are. Okay? How about that? That was a good way of Microsoft telling Google, and choke on our balls, basically. Our balls with bottomless sacks of money in it, where, Bill Gates is literally doing dives through Scrooge McDuck, safes of money every single day. If he's not, he definitely could. Gameplay trailer for Jedi Fallen Order that we saw at EA comes out November 15th. I think it looks pretty cool, but we'll see when it comes out. World premiere for a horror game. This was weird. First I thought it was Outlast with the little camera, because it showed a first-person view in the haunted woods and stuff. Then I heard the name of the forest. Then I saw a few familiar visions from back then. This is a new Blair Witch game. Okay. Comes out August 30th. It's going to be on Game Pass at launch, so I can definitely check it out if I want, because I have Game Pass. Yeah, Blair Witch. Blair Witch came and went for me when I got dragged to the movie theater back in 1999 or 2000, whenever the first movie came out. And it was probably the only time I've ever went to see a movie where I almost fell asleep. It was so boring. I did not get what all the hype was about. But I guess we're getting a Blair Witch game, which maybe that universe has promise, and maybe they'll actually bring a good game out of it. I don't know. But I was a little indifferent towards that announcement. The next game that was shown, though, I have a little bit of hype for, I must say. Cyberpunk 2077. Looks fucking sick. And then, for some reason, unbeknownst to everybody else that didn't work at Microsoft, Keanu Reeves came out on the stage. Okay. Because they showed Keanu Reeves in game at the end of the gameplay feature, the trailer they showed. And he came out to say CD Projekt Red came to him, told him about the story in the game and how much they wanted him to be in it. And he came out to introduce the release date. And all I can remember from the Keanu Reeves segment was breathtaking. Someone from the crowd called him breathtaking. Keanu Reeves, in response, said they were breathtaking, and then went on to tell everybody they were all breathtaking. Breathtaking. That's really the only word I could take away from that whole feature, from Cyberpunk to Keanu Reeves. It's just breathtaking. And he did like the most... If there's not 100 memes at least made of this that he did, where he introduced the release date and literally like pointed to the screen in the most wonderful, cheesiest E3 fashion he possibly could, and the game got pushed to next year, which I'm not really surprised, because this is going to be a big open world CD Projekt Red game. So it got pushed to April 16th, 2020 is when Cyberpunk 2077 is coming out. It's not coming out in 2077, thankfully. It's just being set there. But I thought that was a cute thing. You know, a celebrity bumbling around on stage, having a little bit of fun with it, not exactly sure what they're doing. Kind of harkens back to the good old days of E3 when, you know, corporations were more akin to making asses out of themselves. You know, all in good fun, for our viewing pleasure at least. But, you know, it was a nice little callback to, you know, good old memories. Then next was a world premiere from a game called Spiritfarer by Thunder Lotus. Didn't really show a whole lot about this game, what it was about from the trailer. They showed a quick gameplay trailer. This girl was on a ship. Looks like you can modify the ship and build onto it and build things off of it. So I don't know if there's going to be a little bit of simulation involved. But it's basically about this little girl who serves passage to dead spirits and befriends some of them, and in short order they have to say goodbye when the spirits have reached their destination and they're ready to pass on to the next world. So it looks kind of interesting. I didn't really get much of a reaction when I saw it, but when I read more about it and what it was about, what they were going for, the tone, after I saw this reveal, I'm a lot more on board with it now, so we'll see. It's probably going to come out on Game Pass, so I'll play it then and see. The girl's name is Stella. She manages a ferry to transport spirits safely to the afterlife. So that's an interesting concept. Then the famous pause music of Battletoads hit the stage. And Battletoads was shown. They showed gameplay. A lot of people think it looks like a low-budget Flash game. I think it looks like a Battletoads game. I mean, the original on the NES had that cartoony look, like it came out of a comic book. This kind of has it, but albeit in a different art style. I still think it looks cool, so we'll see. I'll definitely check it out. The Legend of Right looks like an action game where you're actually battling page by page through a comic book. That looks pretty neat. That comes out next spring. There was an ID at Xbox montage that showed off a whole bunch of games like they like to do every year. Dead Static Drive looked really cool. Pathologic 2. Star Renegades After Party. Tabs, Totally Accurate Battle Simulator is what it stands for. The Good Life, Crosscode looked pretty sweet. Creature in the Well, Killer Queen Black, which has been previously released on other platforms. Riverbond, Unto the End, Blazing Chrome, Felix the Ripper, Undermine, Supermarket Shriek, that was another funny one that showed the shopping cart crashing into one of the counters. Secret Neighbor, which looks like a spin-off of Hello Neighbor. Eichenfell, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Lord of the Rings living card game, because we gotta have another fucking card game. Night Call and Totem Teller. So I think some of those games have been previously released, I'm not sure. But there's a few that looked interesting there. So it's always good to see indie games being released on consoles, especially the Xbox not losing steam. That's great. Or actually, they'd be losing a little bit of steam because they're not releasing on Steam, but they're released on consoles. Hey-yo! Okay, cheesy dad jokes aside, Sarah Bond came out with one of the more interesting announcements from the conference. She's the head of Xbox Partnerships, came out to talk about Game Pass, which has tripled the amount of partners since launch. I hope that holds with all of these companies now talking about all their subscription services they're going to do themselves, but we'll see. Because it's Microsoft, you know, they have a bottomless pit of money. They just have to go to Bill Gates and ask him to write a check, you know, offering him enough money to keep games on the service, because they got to see how popular Xbox Game Pass is with everybody. So maybe they could work something out. We'll see. Time will tell. Every Xbox Game Studios game shown during the conference will be available on Game Pass Day 1. She reiterated that. Batman Arkham Knight, Metro Exodus, Hollow Knight, and Borderlands Handsome Collection are available in Game Pass immediately following that announcement, which is cool. Game Pass for PC was announced. It will have the Halo Master Chief Collection on it at a later date. I'm assuming later this year. That's going to also include Halo Reach, which wasn't previously available in the collection, but it's going on there. The Game Pass for PC entered open beta that day. And there was a montage reel of over 100 quality games they're going to have on there by August. $9.99 a month by itself. And here's where the real kicker came. Here's where they dropped the bombshell. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which was rumored here and there before the conference, revealed it bundles Xbox Live Gold, Game Pass for PC, and Game Pass for Xbox, all for $15 a month, and you can join for a limited time for $1, which that either went offline. It either went offline today or it's going off tomorrow, which I've converted into that. So basically it rolls the Xbox Live time and Xbox Game Pass time you have left all in one service. So $15 a month for that isn't bad as long as they keep, and here's the big thing, is they have to keep a lot of third-party support in that Game Pass. There's a pretty decent selection on there now, but again, I wonder with all these services wanting a piece of the subscription pie that's going around now, it's baked, it's fresh out of the oven, everyone wants a fucking piece of that pie. So we're going to see exactly how they try to keep that in line together and not lose a whole bunch of ground to other developers that want to start their own service. Then there was a trailer for Flight Simulator. Flight Simulator is making a big comeback, and why not? That's going to be on Xbox and PC, but no release date, probably not till next year. There was a trailer for Age of Empires 2, the Definitive Edition. Probably my personal favorite computer game of all time. That's now has a completely new engine in 4K. They rebuilt the graphics engine, they rebuilt the AI, the sound, remastered audio. There's even a new campaign called The Last Cons. Looks great, but it's on PC only, which isn't a really big surprise because I don't know how you'd keep track of all the micromanagement in Age of Empires 2 on a gamepad anyway. But yeah, I really want to get a PC together again just to play that again, because that whole series is fantastic, but Age of Empires 2 is by far the best one in my opinion. There was a gameplay trailer for Wasteland 3 that's coming out for Xbox and PC, but no release date. Matt Booty, head of Xbox Game Studios, came out to introduce Double Fine and Tim Schafer as their new Xbox studio. Tim Schafer came out, cracked a few jokes, and he also came out and talked about Psychonauts 2, which is not only coming out soon, but has a trailer. Yeah, they didn't show a release date for it. At least I didn't see a release date, so I don't know if they've announced one. That slipped through the cracks. I didn't see it. It's probably going to be 2020, though. But yeah, Psychonauts 2 is still on track. Raz is going to be back in it. So, Psychonauts fans rejoice. Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, is coming in 2020. It includes all 9 films, including the one that has yet to come out to complete the Skywalker Saga. The game's going to be literally called the Skywalker Saga. But I heard reports it's going to play a little bit differently than the previous Lego Star Wars games. There's going to be like a different camera that's on you. There's going to be a whole bunch of elements that are going to be different in this game, so we'll see when that comes out. Dragon Ball Kakarot, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, is an action RPG. Trailer was shown for that. That comes out in early 2020 for Xbox and PC. There's a trailer for an indie game showed next called 12 Minutes, which is a top-down murder thriller cinematic type game. So the premise looks kind of interesting, but I don't know how shallow that game's going to get with repeated playthroughs if you know all the different branching paths and the path that finishes the game the fastest and stuff, but we'll see. Then there was a trailer for the next game, a third-person exploration game and a pair of deer. The adults, deer's antlers light up the way with a child in tow solving puzzles and exploring. It's called The Way of the Woods. That comes out in 2020, and they said for real this time, so I don't know if they announced it and axed it, or they delayed it or something like that, but I thought that was funny. Then Gears 5 Bound for Blood comes out. Not Gears of War 5, mind you, Gears 5. This was a little strange. Rod Ferguson came out to confirm the release on September 10th. They're going to have a multiplayer tech test on August 19th, so be on the lookout for that. Escape mode is announced, complete with a CGI trailer. So not only did they announce the new multiplayer mode, they only showed a CG trailer of it, no gameplay, and they spent all this time and money with this stage area that transformed into all these different screens, and I guess wanted to give like the aura of being in one of these environments in escape mode in this game. And they had a bunch of WWE superstars on stage playing escape mode, the game that they showed no gameplay for to everyone else. So apparently you had to be one of these 3 WWE superstars on this stage to actually see how escape mode played. And I guess you could play it at E3 too, maybe they had it there, but fuck everyone else watching from home, I guess, because we don't know what escape mode actually plays like, because no one showed gameplay of it. So why would you spend all that effort to show absolutely no gameplay? That's bizarre. Yeah, I wrote, did they seriously make a whole stage setup just to advertise this and not play it? Okay. Oh, and Terminator Dark Fate character pack is going to be a pre-order bonus for this game for people who buy it on release and play it within the first week. So as long as you play it within the first week it's out, you'll get the Terminator Dark Fate pre-order bonus. There's a new redesigned Elite controller. They went from inside out with this controller, apparently upgraded all the components, added a few new features, like they have tension adjustable thumbsticks now. They have 3 different controller profiles. You can save into the controller itself, so say if you bring it with you and your friend wants to use it, they could put their own profile on it. So that's neat. Bluetooth connectivity, shorter hair trigger locks, wraparound rubber grip. The rubber grip isn't just on part of the controller, it's all over the controller body now. Rechargeable battery and charging dock. So, yeah, not only did they go ahead and release a second iteration of this controller, because there's been tons of reports for like little pieces of plastic breaking off where the trigger buttons don't work and the bumpers don't work. They like wear out really quick. They have the gall to charge $30 more for this controller. So you're not only spending $150 for the Elite controller, now you're spending $180 on it. $180. Here's my problem with that. My local Walmart, and I just happened to see this on their Facebook page, they were putting Xbox One X's on clearance for $250. That was about a month ago, so I ran up there and treated myself to a little Father's Day upgrade, and I since sold off my old Xbox One. I had the base model for the longest time, because I still have a 1080p TV. But with the Xbox One X, I can't believe how much better games look on 1080p and how much faster they load. Like, you could even see the differences on a 1080p screen. I paid $250 for that console. I'm not paying $180 for just a controller. Get the fuck out of here. That controller can suck my dick on the hour every hour and cook me pancakes every morning. Okay? I still wouldn't buy it. That's still too much. It's a controller. I mean, I'm sure it's great. I'm sure it feels great. Okay? And besides the price, you know, even if that controller cooked me pancakes every morning, I still wouldn't do it because everyone knows French toast is better than pancakes. So what am I even talking about? Even if it cooked me French toast, I still wouldn't buy it, is what I should say. Anyway. Dying Light 2 was showed off. There was a gameplay trailer for that. Looked pretty sweet. Spring 2020 for that. Forza Horizon 4 was getting Lego DLC. Lego Speed Champions, because, okay, I mean, it looks decent if you're into that sort of thing. And I think they're going into like self-parody with bringing out the cars every year when they make a Forza announcement. They actually brought out a McLaren that was made entirely out of Legos. So I got to give them a golf clap for that. At least they're kind of self-aware of bringing out a fucking car on stage every year, because I've made the joke in the past that, hey, just so you know it's a racing game, they brought a car out on stage. But this was entirely made out of Legos, so I think they're finally getting in on the joke finally. So that was cute. But that, I believe that I think it's already out. It came out at that announcement, or it came out very shortly after that. So you can add that to Forza Horizon 4. Gears Pop Mobile. Here we go with the fucking mobile games. Gears Pop, yeah, the Gears people, the Gears of War, or I'm sorry, Gears, characters that look like Funko Pops, that was shown definitely last year, and I think the year before that, I'm not entirely sure. I think it was just last year. Yeah, that game exists on your phone. It's not even like a game you can play on your Xbox One, just on your phone. And it looks nothing like Gears of War. It's like a fucking like top-down like tower defense where your character goes from turret to turret and like kills off guys one by one. It's just like, why does this even exist? But if that's your thing, you can pre-register it now for iOS and Android. I just put why. Gross. State of Decay 2 had Heartland DLC. A trailer was shown off for that. That's on Game Pass. Here's another bombshell from the Microsoft conference. I don't think anybody expected. Phil Spencer has done an amazing job with the Xbox brand. Okay, Don Matrick and all these fucking suits and ties from Microsoft came out with the Xbox One to a absolutely fucking just disastrous marketing campaign they announced this console with. Like, they almost tanked the Xbox brand for good. Okay, because they thought people wanted a video game console to watch TV and sports, and wanted always on DRM and all this bullshit. And if you were a member of the armed forces and you didn't have a constant internet connection, well, there was a product for you, asshole. It was called the Xbox 360. So I guess you can't play this new console we spent millions upon millions of dollars on advertising and developing for the fans, because fuck the fans, I guess. That was Don Matrick's approach, and he's long gone, thank fucking Christ, because that guy's a fucking retard. And Phil Spencer came in and inherited this mess, and he did a wonderful job turning things around. Could the Xbox be in a better place now? Yeah, probably. But it could be in a hell of a lot worse place now as well. So, I'm not going to say he hasn't made mistakes at all. He's not a perfect person, but he's done a wonderful job. And this next announcement is why. He actually goes over to Japan and talks to Japanese companies and developers about interest on releasing things about the Xbox One and how important the Xbox One is to the video game industry and how many just millions upon millions of people have one and enjoy it. This fucking guy got Phantasy Star Online 2 to come to the West for the first time. This game's coming out, and it's coming out on Xbox One. Granted, the game's from like fucking, 2012 or something like that? But it's coming over here on Xbox One. And I think, is it going to get a PC release as well? I'm not sure. But all I know is Xbox One is getting a Phantasy Star Online 2, which is just an amazing feat in itself. Because I thought we were never going to see that game. Not only that, but it's going to be free to play with all of the content that's been previously released for it leading up to this point. So you got to give credit where credit's due there. Absolutely, because it's free to play. I'll definitely check it out. And if there's servers for the first game, do people still play the first game on, I think it's Dreamcast and GameCube? Were those the two platforms that got released on? I don't know. But yeah, that's probably going to get me to get into the series when I played it, because the only Phantasy Star game I ever played was Phantasy Star 3 back on the Genesis, because that was one of the first RPGs I was introduced to, because my brother was really into RPGs, and ever since he gave me a copy of Dragon Warrior, the rest is history. So I'll definitely check that out. Then Phil Spencer also talked about a partnership with Smilegate. Apparently they have this super popular game I've never heard of up to this point called Crossfire. Crossfire X is coming to Xbox. There was a CGI trailer which explained pretty much nothing, but that comes out in 2020. Speaking of 2020, the next Tales game is coming out in 2020 for Xbox and PC called Tales of Arise. That's neat. Trailer for Borderlands 3. That comes out September 19th. Also announced is Commander Lilith and the Fight for Sanctuary, which bridges the gap between Borderlands 2 and 3. It's like a mini story that explains the transition between those two games. I think that's a free download if you have the Handsome Collection, which has Borderlands 2 and Borderlands the pre-sequel on it. And like I said, that just recently got added to Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass, not only can you play the Handsome Collection, you can get this DLC as well for free. Then we came to the Elden Ring. Oh, Elden Ring. Miyazaki and George R. Martin's collaboration. CGI trailer didn't explain shit whatsoever. That this game could be a pinball RPG for all we know. I don't fucking know. Yeah, it shows nothing about the game. Get hype, I guess. I was watching the Giant Bomb reacts to these conferences, like watching Giant Bomb watch the E3 conferences, and everybody across the board, Vinny, Alex, Brad, Jeff, Ben, and Dan, all had this look of confusion. If you freeze framed it during pretty much any time during this reveal of Elden Ring, they were just like all of them were trying to just make some kind of sense out of it, because this trailer explained nothing. It was great. Later on, all I really got from it in post-conference news was, I guess it's going to be more like Dark Souls and less like Sekiro and Blood-Borne. So it's going to have maybe more of a traditional RPG experience. I really don't know. There's not really a whole lot that's been said about it. What the fuck is it with CGI trailers? I mean, I get it. They're a vehicle that's easy to put together and get people hyped for a game or an announcement to say, hey, we're working on this cool thing you might want to keep yourself updated on. But they don't fucking show anything. Like, after a while, you just show CGI trailer after CGI trailer after CGI trailer. It's just a bunch of fluff at some point. Like, okay, I guess that could be cool. I don't really know, though, because I don't know what the game looks like. You know, at least people in previous E3s, you put some poor guy on stage pretending to play the game and just mashing buttons on a controller that's not even connected to anything. And it shows gameplay. At least you're seeing gameplay. You know what I mean? But whatever. I just needed to vent a little bit about that. But trust me, it gets better. I got a lot more to rant about. But we'll get to that in the next conference. Phil Spencer touched a little bit more on xCloud. There's a public hands-on test that's happening at E3 that people can try it out. Console streaming is coming for free this October. So what they're saying is again, to shit on Google Stadia, which I loved. Not only can you try and play games they're going to offer a connection to their data servers very similar to what Google Stadia is doing, but you can also connect to your Xbox One, so you have a shorter distance between, theoretically between you and a machine that's actually hosting the game. And they've been testing this for a very long time, but they're just now announcing it. So, because Phil Spencer, one of his biggest directives in being the head of Xbox is he wants to get as many people involved in playing games as possible, no matter what platforms they're on, because he knows, being a gamer himself, supposedly, that, and this was another article that came out post E3 that I took notes on, was he knows it's more about software sales and subscriptions to a lesser extent than actual hardware sales. People go where the games are. Okay, I've said it a million times and I'll say it again. I don't have allegiance to any game developers, any allegiances to console manufacturers, because it's dumb. Because you want to go where the games are. I bought PS4 because there's games on it I want to play. I still have my Wii U over here. I have my Switch sitting right here because there's games on them I want to play. And I have Xbox a lot because, the systems aren't emulated very well, and there's a lot of great exclusives on all three Xbox consoles that I want to play. You go where the games are, and Phil Spencer, I think he gets that, which a lot of people don't. A lot of people come out in a suit and tie and they want to, they care about numbers and sales and all this marketing lingo and bullshit and stuff like that. And I'm not opposed to businesses making money. That's their sole purpose. Businesses are supposed to make money. but they need to be educated about the product they're selling and the end user to make even more money and also make the customers happy. You could be a business and make money, but you don't have to be an asshole while doing it either. That's the point I'm trying to make, and he seems to get that. And he briefly touched on the new console, faster loading times like the PS5, the new PlayStation that's going to come out. Yeah, they're going to do that. GDDR6, yeah, they're going to have that. The latest AMD processor, yeah. Solid state drive, you betcha. So it's like, yeah, everything Mark Cerny talked about with the new console coming out next year, yeah, they're going to do that too. So it's going to be just as good, maybe if not a little bit better. You know, they're going to have, I'm sure, a couple of little idiosyncrasies in it that are going to make it unique from the PlayStation. But really, between Xbox and PlayStation, they couldn't be more similar, especially with the Xbox One X coming out. And like I said, I blame the base model Xbox One for being underpowered because a bunch of businessmen made it and not knowing what people who play video games want in a console. You know, I'm just glad that the fucking brand survived that nuclear disaster and it's still going somehow. So, and the last thing to come out of Microsoft's conference, Halo Infinite is coming out, but it's going to be a launch title for this new system, codenamed Project Scarlet. And that's really all that was shown. And of course, Halo Infinite, whatever. Just CGI, didn't really show anything, but it's Halo, so we pretty much know what to expect. Master Chief's in it. He still has his shield meter, which we saw the very familiar sound of when he got brought back online in the ship in that trailer. And that was Microsoft. Yeah. A lot of announcements, not a whole lot of gameplay. So we'll see what happens with that. You know, decent conference. No really big surprises aside from maybe Phantasy Star Online 2. But it was a decent conference. Nothing that really knocked my socks off or anything, but it was better. They had more to show than EA. They were more enthusiastic, you know, than EA, and they did better than Bethesda did and a few other players. But that was it for Microsoft. So we'll see. Excited for the new console. I'm really curious as to what it's going to do different than the Xbox One. If it's going to support VR, how much it's going to cost. The backward compatible team, it's all hands on deck with them getting every single game. They promised every single game you could play on the Xbox One, including original Xbox games and 360 games that are already backward compatible, you will be able to play on the new system. I know they would be absolutely insane to not say that, but I'm kind of glad they said it, like it came out officially, because it's kind of like, you know, it's one less thing to worry about. It's my favorite platform. That's just what I love gaming on, primarily. Like, I play games on other platforms, but mostly it's Xbox, like 8 times out of 10. Then we get to Bethesda. I'm just going to get into it, because I think I've already broken my not going off on tangents promise, I think at least a dozen times now. So let me just go through this as fast as I can. Pete Hines came out to kick off the show and eventually introduced Todd Howard, which this guy had the fucking nerve to show his face after the Fallout 76 debacle. Literally came out on stage last year and just lied to people. Talked about all these fucking things that this game is going to have, and it barely resembled a game at all. Like, people thought Fallout 4 was low on content when that fucking game launched, and that game was buggy. Fallout 76 did a whole, like, hold my beer moment. It was one of the most pathetic attempts at damage control I've ever seen. He basically came out, he said, well, we got a lot of well-deserved criticism for Fallout 76, but we're still working on it. Anyway, Elderscrolls Blades! And he said some stuff about Blades and basically scurried off of the stage like a scared little rat that you shined a flashlight on walking through an old house. Like, really? Like, that's the best you're gonna do? Whatever, man. And these people, man, they're living in this fantasy land where they think tens of millions of people are playing Fallout 76. And they're talking about all this new content that's going to come out for it. Get this. In a Fallout game, there's going to be quests and there's going to be NPCs in it you can interact with that have, wait for it, quest lines. Wait. So, like in every other Fallout game that came before this? So you're literally like ejaculating in your fucking pants on stage at E3 in front of tens of millions of people talking about how your new Fallout game is going to have quests in it. Are you fucking serious? They're legitimately talking about this like it's the fucking innovative video game feature of the decade, quests and Fallout. Oh, but this conference gets better. It gets a lot better. Ooh. But before that, I got a little ahead of myself, excuse me. Elderscrolls Blades showed up. There's an update to the game with a custom jewelry system. I know, exciting shit. I had to put that all in caps because they were excited about that. Everyone was excited about this conference. Everyone on stage, no matter the most mundane thing or the most perplexing announcements they could have made in this conference, there were people in the crowd going fucking ape shit about dragons and shit. Like, this was the most one of the most cringy, self-masturbatory, just insane conferences I've ever sat through. And I'm almost positive that they made this conference for themselves. Because half of the people in the crowd were way too excited about shit that no ordinary gamer or video game connoisseur or enthusiast, if you will, because I fucking hate the word gamer, they got way too excited about this stuff. So you know at least half of the people in that crowd had to work for Bethesda and id Software. Nobody gets this excited about this, boring vanilla, the most vanilla-ish of vanilla fucking type of announcements. Quests and Fallout, dragons and Elder Scrolls. Wow, guys, did you know Mario can jump in the latest game too? Man, you gotta throw a fucking Kager over that. Are you kidding me? Yeah, Elder Scrolls Blades, this free game you could download on your cell phone, is now coming to Nintendo Switch. So if you, for some reason, you don't want to buy Skyrim for the Switch that's been out, and you want to download a free, much more watered-down Elder Scrolls game, which I guess has cooldowns on certain things, like abilities and cooldowns on different elements in the game that I read. I haven't played Blades personally, but that's just what I read. If you want to play the shittiest experience in an Elder Scrolls universe you can possibly play, I guess download Blades on the Switch, I guess. Or you can find Skyrim on sale and actually play like a full-fledged Elder Scrolls game. I don't know. Just a thought. And that comes to Switch in fall 2019. Fallout 76 updates. Nobody cares, I wrote. I was watching this at a friend's house. I watched the Microsoft conference and the Bethesda conference. And I was on vacation down south with friends I haven't seen in over a decade. And we were watching this because in the middle of my stay there, it just happened to when all this E3 stuff started. And I was just like, man, nobody cares about Fallout 76 anymore. Free updates this fall, including NPCs that give you quests. Free update called Wastelanders launching this fall, which will include, and not limited to, human NPCs, new main quest line, choice and consequence, and new weapons and gear. Man, innovative shit. Well, welcome to 2019. Okay, Bethesda throwing fucking innovation around like it's fucking candy, okay? Leave it to Bethesda to be innovative. Not only that, but we got a free trial until June 17th. And I'm just like, fuck off. Just fuck off. Oh, and if they couldn't copycat the rest of like the most basic generic announcements you can make about a video game in 2019, it's also getting a Battle Royale mode. And the way they preface this, it's called Nuclear Winter. There's a new vault. There's a chance for someone to be an overseer from this new vault. I forget exactly what the number is. I really don't care. 52 players are going to fight over it. So it's not even 100 players. It's not even 75 players. It's only 52 players. Because I think they got drunk one night and actually decided to test their buggy game, and they put 53 players in it, and it crashed and erased everything on their console. So I think that's only why there's 52 players in it. Who knows with that? Then, easily the biggest highlight next to Doom Eternal in this conference, Shinji Mikami of Resident Evil fame and Evil Within fame from Tango Gameworks came out to introduce Ghostwire Tokyo, which has a very interesting premise. No gameplay was shown, a CGI trailer was shown, but it looks really... the premise sounds interesting. Creative director Akumi Nakamura came out, very cheerful lady. I heard she was involved in like Bayonetta and other games. From Pat and Woolley talking about it when they did their quick E3 conference rundowns on their podcast. They still do. She came out to explain the game's premise as people are disappearing and you have to overcome challenges to figure out what's going on in Tokyo proper. No release date, no gameplay, but it's something kind of cool to keep an eye on here and there as more development, as more updates come out for it. Elder Scrolls Online upcoming content. So Elder Scrolls Online got a spot. Let me ask you a question. Do you like dragons? No. Do you really like dragons? Because people in this fucking conference did. Dragons. The game's going to have dragons. The dragons are going to fly. The dragons are probably going to be rendered to hell and back to look great. Or at least look like dragons would look like in a game in 2019. The game's going to have dragons. I swear to God, there were people in this crowd that were probably unzipping their pants and either fingering themselves or masturbating furiously over the fact that there's going to be more dragons in this game. I don't know if that was an in-joke, but that's what happened. This fucking conference. Elsewhere is available now. I think that's the new expansion set that's going on. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. CGI trailer, big surprise, but it's Elder Scrolls, so at least you have something like gameplay to put against the visuals. Dragonhold will have more info at QuakeCon. I don't know why you would talk about Elder Scrolls at QuakeCon. Okay, just because you own id Software, like you guys stay over there and id Software will stay over here. Okay, don't bother id Software. Just let them do their thing. They do their thing way better than you do. You have to admit. So just let them do their thing. These guys actually had the balls. They did like this little featurette about like the brief history of games they went through. These guys had the fucking nerve, and Pat from Super Best Friends, formerly of Super Best Friends, caught this, and I'm glad he did, because I missed it the first time. Bethesda came out, and in this featurette of their past accomplishments, they came out and said that they invented the first-person shooter. And the only reason they said that is because they're in business with id Software. You don't get to say that just because you own the company that popularized first-person shooters, because that's what id Software did. Bethesda didn't. All you motherfuckers know how to do is make the buggiest open-world games imaginable. Okay? That's what you guys are famous for. id Software actually has revolutionary games that work very well and run on very scalable and good engines, because John Carmack is not human. Okay, the guy's pretty much a genius. John Carmack can do whatever the fuck he wants. And he made these spectacular engines for these games. He started making the id Tech engines, for these games. He was largely responsible for them before he eventually left. I think he's still at Oculus, I'm not sure. But yeah, Bethesda didn't do it. id Software did it. So get it right, okay? Just because you own id Software doesn't mean you get to own all of their accomplishments they made before they joined you. Fuck off, Bethesda. Moving on. Steelbreaker for Elder Scrolls Online is coming out in August. And then we get to... God damn it. Then we get to the next part. Commander Keen's back. And I don't know if it was the jet lag from the plane I took down to go on vacation as I was watching this at my friend's house. But I got excited for this, because I'm a dumb fuck, and I forgot what year it was for like a microsecond. And I was just glad to see Commander Keen back. And these motherfuckers who keep doing these little featurettes in their conferences about how everyone who works there is a gamer, and they're familiar with all the intellectual properties they have, and they listen to their fans, and they care so much about the feedback all their fans get. These fucking assholes, or whoever was responsible for this. I'm sure there's people at Bethesda and id Software that don't even know anything about this, but everyone involved in this can go fuck themselves. They made a Commander Keen mobile game. I don't know why that's a shock in 2019, but that's what they did. But let me ask a question. Who is this game for? People who play games on phones, I'm sure the vast majority of people who play games on phones are kids. Way too young to know what Commander Keen is. You could have named this game anything else, and it still would have hit them with the same impact that it would. On the flip side of the coin, people who are old enough like me to know who Commander Keen is and know all of the great Commander Keen games that came out in the 90s, id Software's most, I would say, commercially successful game, they're not going to want anything to do with this, because this is not Commander Keen. This is some shitty cash grab, fucking budget mobile game some studio slapped together, and then they're like, oh shit, let's take one of our dormant IPs and just throw it on there so this game gets a little more exposure than it would with any other name, so you put Commander Keen on it. This game looks nothing like Commander Keen at all. Commander Keen is a side-scrolling platformer action game that came out in the MS-DOS days, had plenty of sequels. I think this game had at least 6 episodes along with a side story called Keen Dreams, from some of the people at id Software who worked at Soft Disk Publishing back then. If you guys knew your fucking history, because id Software popularized first-person shooters, not Bethesda. And this game is nothing like a Commander Keen game. Because I'm watching this, I'm like, yay, Commander Keen's back. And then they show gameplay of a phone game that looks nothing like Commander Keen. What's next? Huh? A Dangerous Dave pachinko machine? What the fuck is this? I don't want to play Commander Keen on my phone. I want to play it. Why couldn't you guys make a new platformer to put on the Nintendo Switch, at the very least? By far the biggest disappointment of the conference. Of all of E3. Never mind the conference. The conference was, I mean, Doom Eternal looks fucking baller as hell. That looks cool. I'm going to play that. But Ghostwire Tokyo sounds interesting. But what the fuck? What the fuck? Let me tell you guys a little about a guy named Tom Hall.
Commander Keen is me. Except when I was a kid, didn't have that high of an IQ. He has a 314 IQ, but I was in red Converse sneakers, and grew up in Wisconsin, so I had a Packer helmet and stuff like that. And I'd sort of, I'd write sci-fi stories when I was a kid. That was sort of my, release. There's an old movie called The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, and he just dreams of these great adventures that he'd go on, even though he's a mild-mannered person. And so seeing all these, reading all these great sci-fi books and, seeing all these great adventure movies, I sort of, dreamt of those adventures myself, and sort of combining Star Wars and Star Trek and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and Warner Brothers, all my influences, that just kind of came out. We decided to do a scrolling game ourselves, and Carmack said, I don't know, because I always have like a bazillion ideas. It's almost hard to narrow them down. So said, I don't know, a kid that saves the galaxy or something. So I just went off, and in 15 minutes, I came up with the paragraph you read in the first game that, just Commander Keen. And then read it to him in sort of a Walter Winchell or movie announcer voice. And then so I dispenses galactic justice with an iron hand, and then after it, Carmack applauded and was like, "Oh yeah, that's it," So, and then we just rolled with it.
Maybe you're familiar with Tom Hall, maybe you're not, but Tom Hall was almost single-handedly responsible for creating Commander Keen and giving it legs. It was pretty much his baby, even back in the day. Tom Hall has gone on record several times throughout the years saying in interviews multiple times how much he would love to make a new Commander Keen game if only he had the rights to it. So let me get this straight. And everyone at id Software, they had to have their fingers in their ears going la 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 for at least the last 10 years to not know this. Let me get this straight. Tom Hall throws hints out there that are like neon lights powered by the sun. You could barely fucking miss them. About how much he wants to make a Commander Keen game. You guys haven't touched Commander Keen, the IP, in over 20 years. So you give it to a studio who usually makes online games that turn it into the most generic ass, limp dick, fucking mobile game you could possibly imagine. And that's how Commander Keen makes his big comeback in 2019. You listen to your fans, right? You listen to feedback? Yeah, you do? Okay. Here's what I want you to do, okay? Here, me, fan of Bethesda and id Software games. Here's what I want you guys to do. Here's your feedback, okay? I want you to immediately cease production on this game and development on this game the way it is right now. I want you to call Tom Hall, okay? Grab a phone book, go through your old business cards, look something up on Google. I don't fucking care what you gotta do. Get a hold of Tom Hall, give him the fucking rights to make a Commander Keen game, a proper Commander Keen game, okay? And give him whatever he needs, okay? If he needs a 3-month vacation in Tahiti to write the new script for the game, the new story that's going to be in the game, let him give it to him, okay? Because if you're going to go through all this fucking trouble, and I know you guys filed paperwork, you probably relicensed the IP, you guys put time and effort and money into this to make this happen. Why would you go through all that and announce this mobile game and not call Tom Hall because Tom Hall wants to make a Commander Keen game so bad? What are you doing? What the fuck? id Software games, and to a very close extent, Apogee Software games that later turned into 3D Realms. These were the computer games that I hold very near and dear to my heart, because these were the first PC games I started playing back in the 90s, when I was just becoming a teenager. And they showed me that, holy shit, games on a computer do exist. It's not just about consoles. Computer games can be very, very fun, and they can be revolutionary, and they can be all these amazing things. And when I see one of their beloved intellectual properties butchered like this is a fucking war crime. Like, it's like they not only dusted off Commander Keen and brought his name back. Granted, he's not in the game. This is about his kids they're trying to sell it as. It's like they told him to get on his knees and had him handcuffed, had his hands handcuffed in the back, and literally just shot him in the head, execution style. They might as well have. And they're talking about this thing like it's the most amazing thing ever. No, it's not! My God, how fucking clueless can you be with an old IP? Do they even know Commander Keen games exist? Did they play any of them? There's no possible way they could have, and then went through it and introduced this. There's no way. A fucking vegetable could see what's wrong with this game compared to the legacy Commander Keen has left behind. I don't get it. I don't get it. They need to scrap this, start completely over. This, whatever we saw at E3 was just a fever dream. We're never going to talk about this. We're never going to speak of this again. That's it. And call Tom Hall and tell him to make a Commander Keen game. Tom Hall is going to know what that means. Bethesda doesn't. Shameful. Shameful. Pete Hines came out to talk about Elderscrolls Legends again. Dude really has a hard-on for this game. Isn't this like the third or fourth year in a row he's talked about Elderscrolls Legends? The card game? Because it's not like The Witcher has a spin-off card game. It's not like Hearthstone exists. Yeah, it's a card game, dude. We get it. You like playing it. You like talking about it. It's there. There's new content coming for it. New content came out for it last month. Okay, dude. Elder Scrolls Legends. We get it. Awesome. Cool. Can we talk about anything else now? Rage 2. They came out and talked about Rage 2. New content? Yeah. If you count new content as cheat codes, cheat modes, whatever. A new vehicle and other stuff. Rise of the Ghosts expansion. There's going to have a mech and shit in it. That's going to come out. Then we went on to talk about the actual good things in this conference. Wolfenstein Cyberpilot, that's a VR spin-off that's available this month, as in July. Wolfenstein Youngblood also comes out on the 26th of this month, now that we're in July. Takes place 2 decades after Wolfenstein 2 that just recently came out, with B.J. Blazkowicz's twin daughters that are going to find him because he's gone missing. Arcane Studios came out to talk about Deathloop. These are the guys that made the Dishonored games. This is a first-person action game with 2 characters, Colt and Juliana. They're stuck in a time loop and they must find a way out of it. There's no release date for it. Kind of an interesting concept. Then came the bathroom break part of the conference. Unless you were lucky enough to go take a piss when Commander Keen was being talked about. They talked about this new streaming technology called Orion. Again with the streaming technology. Apparently this is going to run Doom at 60 frames per second. Not the new Doom coming out, mind you, but the one released back in 2016. Looks great, I guess, but, you know, you have to have like more real-world examples of this working for me to actually buy into it. Same thing I said with Stadia. We'll see when it comes out. Then the proof will be in the pudding, so to speak. Then finally, Doom Eternal came out. Looks fucking awesome. Looks more fast-paced, like you're going to jump around more, and there's more movement involved. Even sometimes to a parkour-esque experience. The thing that kind of baffles me a little bit about Doom Eternal is the multiplayer mode. They said there's not going to be a traditional deathmatch mode in this game. There's going to be more... it's this mode called Uh, it's a new battle mode. I'm sorry if they named it. I didn't put the name down. But it's going to be a 2 versus 1 mode where 2 people play demons and one person plays the Doomslayer. And the Doomslayer, of course, is going to have power-ups he has access to level the playing field against the 2 demons. I mean, it looks neat, but I kind of hope they bring the traditional multiplayer experience back. Sometimes I feel like I'm the only one on the planet that not only loved the multiplayer in the Doom reboot in 2016, but bought it because of that. Like, the reason I pre-ordered the game and bought it was because not only was the multiplayer beta fucking awesome, but they listened to feedback during the beta. Because I played, like, the first beta, I think it was, like, the closed beta or something. I'm like, yeah, this is cool and all. And I like having a traditional deathmatch experience on consoles, because you really don't see that anymore. Because that's a style that died out when Unreal Tournament and Quake Arena, like, fizzled out. Quake 3 Arena, excuse me. It's cool to see it back. There's really not a whole lot of games on consoles that I call somewhat popular that have a dedicated player base that has that style on it. So why would you take that out? And I was going to say, in the next iteration of it was like the open beta for multiplayer, the last one they increased the movement speed. They took my one little niggle about the gameplay and they addressed it and they fixed it. And it was awesome. I loved multiplayer in that game. I loved it. I tried buying it on Switch because I got Doom for super cheap on the Switch one Black Friday. And I was a little disheartened to learn that like nobody plays multiplayer, at least on the Switch. There's a dedicated fan base on the Xbox One. I don't have it for the PS4, but I'm sure since there's more PS4s than Xbox Ones out there, I'd like to think there's a dedicated fan base for the PS4 still playing multiplayer once in a while. That's cool. Another thing that helps the Xbox too is it's on Game Pass. I don't know for how much longer, but it's on Game Pass, which is cool. Yeah, the multiplayer in that game was great, and I'm sure the new multiplayer mode in this is going to be cool, but I wouldn't have minded if it kept like the same multiplayer modes. I'm not sure why people got their fucking panties in a bunch over that multiplayer. I fucking loved it. They had a whole bunch of modes. It was fast-paced. It was as close to a deathmatch game in the 2010s as you can get. And then Pete Hines closes out the conference by announcing a dedicated convention for Doom called DoomCon instead of QuakeCon. Get it? They took out Quake and they put in Doom. Ha 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 ha. Very funny. That was like the dad joke of dad jokes in this conference. But it's coming soon to both Dallas and London. They're going to do it in both locations, so that's cool. That was Bethesda. By far, like, the worst conference of this of this year at E3. So pissed about Commander Keen. Okay, let's move on. I've pretty much said everything I want to say about that, because this video is going to be like 4 hours long. Devolver did a little spoof on Nintendo Direct's format, which was kind of neat, because they continued the story. They kept this joke running for the past, 2 or 3 years now, with Nina Struthers being comatose, and now they go in her mind, and she's doing a fucking Nintendo Direct in her mind. This conference was great. They announced Fall Guys, a funny physics-based game that's coming out. Devolver Bootleg, which I thought was a joke at first, but it's actually real. They put this package on Steam that was 1% off on sale. That's basically a knockoff of all the other games they've been involved with, like a collection of those. that's fucking awesome. Oh, it's so nice to laugh at something after Bethesda's conference. That was actually funny. That can help me relax. Carry On, which is probably the coolest thing they announced at this conference. It's a reverse horror experience coming to PC next year. I hope it comes to consoles too. But you actually play like the monster or the evil in this setting, and you get to like teleport and like do all sorts of different things. Watch the trailer for Carry On. It's really cool. They announced an honest-to-God light gun game they're bringing to arcades, I guess. It's called House of the Gun Dead, based on Enter the Gungeon. That they published or developed. I know they at least published it. An honest-to-God light gun game coming to arcades, and there's going to be a home port down the line, I guess, too. Of course, a trailer for My Friend Pedro, which I played for about 5 minutes while I was waiting for my camcorder to charge, because I haven't used this camcorder in God knows when. It's pretty slick. It's pretty cool. You're this guy, and a banana is talking to you and telling you to pick up a gun and murder everybody in this building. Okay, I'm not sure how mentally stable that's supposed to be, but it's funny, it's goofy, it's over the top, it's ridiculous. It's a video game. Remember when video games used to be fun and they didn't have to be PC, politically correct all the fucking time? It's a video game. You know, I only played it for a few minutes, but I already want to play more of it. So I got it I have it on my Switch here. And free DLC for The Messenger. I also have that on my Switch, called Picnic Panic. That's coming out this year. And that was basically it for Devolver. They said they're going to continue the storyline, to be continued at the very end of it. So I'm sure they're going to be back next year. I'm sure they're going to continue the story somehow if they pull out of E3, if they're the next ones to do it. But it was nice to see them. Always good to see Devolver every year. I look forward to that every year now. And somewhere around this time, I don't know if the timeline's a little out of whack, the PC Gaming Show happened. There was actually quite a few interesting things at the PC Gaming Show. They've switched up the format this year. Day 9 and Frankie were the hosts like they were last year. But yeah, quite a few cool announcements in this conference. You know, there was a bit of a snooze fest here and there with Samsung coming out, introducing a new monitor, and blah, 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 whatever. Okay, I want to hear about games, not the things I played games on primarily, but they kind of made it like a centerpiece of this conference for some reason. This 240 hertz monitor, that's apparently going to be fucking amazing. But they announced Evil Genius 2 they kicked off the conference with. Very cool. I have not heard the name Evil Genius in many moons, but I did play the first game briefly. It was a nice, more lighthearted take on the Dungeon Keeper formula, where you control like your evil headquarters and stuff and stop heroes from coming in and spies and shit. It's really cool. They're finally making a sequel to that. Rebellion is. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is a thing after like almost 15 years, or I think it's been 15 years. Holy shit. That's coming out next year. They're taking their time with that. It looks promising. The way like the developers were talking about it and stuff on stage. I'm trying to think of what else, because my notes are kind of all over the place with this conference, because this is one of the last ones I watched. Chivalry 2 looks great. Really cool. They really expanded on the first game, the way the devs were talking about it on the stage. It's going to have more open world elements. You're going to be able to siege castles. You're going to be able to raid villages and stuff. It's going to have way more players than the first one did. And of course, like the melee combat, the hand-to-hand combat, which made Chivalry what it was. Unfortunately, it came to consoles, but the Xbox One port to it wasn't that good. And it actually got pulled from the store, so you can't even buy it anymore as far as I know. I don't think anyone was really playing it anyway. That kind of sucks. They kind of had performance issues with the port. But I know a lot of people that played it on PC. And there's a similar game out now called Mortimer, something like that. I forget the name. I'm sorry. Let me look it up real quick. If I can even remember the name of it. But it starts with an M, and I've heard very, very promising things about it. I don't know what it's called, but I'm hoping it gets a console port. Mordhau. Yeah, right? Mordhau. Is that the name of it? Yeah, I'm almost positive that's it. Yeah, Mordhau. That game looks cool, man. I'm really hoping this comes to, I don't even know if you can see it from here, that this comes to consoles soon, because this looks right up my alley, because I love medieval history and shit like that. So I'm hoping that's the next big, cool combat game coming out. I did play The Culling, which unfortunately went offline. The Culling Origins, because they relaunched it as a free-to-play game, but I guess people weren't buying into the microtransactions enough that they actually had to pull the plug on the servers because they couldn't support them anymore, the developers. I liked the melee combat in The Culling. I played it just long enough to get all the achievements on Xbox. I like the rock, paper, scissors melee combat in there, where you can either strike, block, or shove. You know, it was pretty neat. Of course, I got my ass kicked quite a few times for people who've been playing it for years and years and years. But I finally got a decent handle. I could hold my own against most people in that game. It was pretty fun. So I'm hoping a Battle Royale type game comes out, which is more of a focus on melee combat. Because it's fucking lame playing PUBG and it's down to the last 5 people, and 4 of them are like hiding in a fucking bush somewhere with a sniper rifle, and they just off you in 2 shots. Like, that's no fun. I want to go mano-y-mano, you know, gloves off, weapons down, no more bullshit. Let's do this face-to-face and beat each other in the fucking hamburger meat, and last one standing wins. That's a fucking Battle Royale game I can get behind. Not that, you know, Blackout Mode and Black Ops 4 and all the other games, like, they have their moments, you know, like, but I really like the Culling's approach, and I think it was an interesting approach, and I hope something like that comes back out. So, we'll see. Time will tell, as usual. What else did I see at the PC conference? Yu Suzuki actually showed his face and showed off some Shenmue 3 trailer. That game got pushed back a little bit. It got delayed. It's going to come out later this year. This fall, I think it is. I forget the exact date. But yeah, that's still coming out. Looks like a Shenmue game, alright. Looks really similar to Shenmue 2, the little bit I've seen of it. So we'll see when that game comes out. Excuse me, if that game lives up to its promises or not. And of course, at the very end, they showed Baldur's Gate 3. Speaking of Baldur's Gate, that I started this video with. Again, CG trailer. Could look a lot like the first 2 Baldur's Gate games, could have a radically different look. We don't know. That's the problem with CG trailers. You don't really know exactly what you're going to get. But I'm glad they're making it. I think is Larian Studios making it? I'm sorry. I'm so fucking ill-prepared for this, despite it being delayed and shit. But I know In Exile and another studio were trying to get the rights to Baldur's Gate 3, but they tried and they failed. Yeah, Larian Studios. I just had to, in partnership with Wizards of the Coast, they're making this game. But I know In Exile and another development studio, they tried to get a hold of this, but they couldn't. So I like to think it's in good hands. They're taking their time with it. They're aware of how the legacy of Baldur's Gate and what made those games great, supposedly, but we'll see when it comes out. That was pretty much the PC gaming conference. There was a few other games I'm sure I forgot the name of. Some sweet-looking stuff. There was one called, there was an RPG that is a homage to JRPGs that has a whole bunch of elements from that series. The name escapes me right at the moment. Zombie Army 4, the new Zombie Army game, that was also announced. Vermintide 2 has some new stuff coming out. Borderlands 3, they shared a few tidbits about that, especially the loot system, how supposedly it's not going to be garbage. Cry's Tales, Cristales. It looks like a homage to like JRPG games, which looks really cool. That's coming out really soon. They also showed off a new Age of Wonders game. Age of Wonders is an old veteran of the RTS/strategy games of yesteryear on the PC that used to be popular back in those days, like the early 2000s and stuff. So it's cool to see that name again, along with Evil Genius. A lot of good names coming up. Nice to know they're doing well. You know, like, oh man, that guy sounds familiar. Oh, he's doing well. Oh, good for him. He's doing better than Commander Keen, that's for sure. Do you see what happened to Commander Keen? Oh man, dude, you don't even want to know. Let's say he's not doing so great right now. And that was pretty much the PC Gaming Conference. We're going to move on really quick to Ubisoft, because this video, I know it's going way too long. The Symphony started off the show playing classical music set to Assassin's Creed music. I can't remember a single song from Assassin's Creed, but that's not going to stop a Symphony from coming out and playing selections from the game. And also, they're going on a world tour, so if the 3 of you who are absolutely giddy over the thought of the Symphony playing just Assassin's Creed music, well, check out tour dates online, because they might be coming to your town. Whatever floats your boat. I mean, I'm indifferent towards that. We head to our male-female host team. That's not Aisha Tyler for some reason. Whatever happened to her? Did she have a falling out with Ubisoft, or did she just not do it anymore. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on. They expanded on Watchdogs Legion. Alpha gameplay footage, which I don't trust gameplay from Ubisoft, especially a Watchdogs game, because you guys pulled the curtain over my eyes with the first game. You know, I pre-ordered it on release day, spent $60 on it, it came out. Looked nothing like what you guys showed at E3, but I should have known better. So, you know, mistakes were made on both sides, let's just say on that. But I'm not trusting gameplay footage at E3 anymore. I'm not trusting a game until I actually have it in my hands and I'm playing it. That's the best review you could possibly see with your own two eyes, is you yourself playing the game. That's what I've always said. Because, you know, reading reviews, watching video footage, you're only going to know how a game feels and plays and how it resonates with you or how it doesn't resonate with you when you're playing it like you would play any other game. When you're immersed in it, when you're fully into it and you know what's going on. You know, that's really the only way you're going to know. Because I've played a ton of games that people said were shit that I loved. And I've played a few games that a lot of people love, and I just don't understand them at all. So, you know, reviews should be a benchmark. They shouldn't be a comprehensive way to look at a game. They should just give you an idea of if it resonates with you or not, enough to check it out or not. That's my philosophy towards it anyway. And when I do my own reviews, that's the philosophy I try and have as well. Which I do want to make more reviews, but I just don't have the time. Someday I'll get to them, I promise. Back to E3. Trailer shows a Jason Statham type guy in London. Apparently this is about when Brexit is going on, or the post-Brexit London, where DedSec is going around recruiting members to try and fight back against the establishment. And the big draw with Watchdogs Legion is you can be pretty much anybody. Even a grandma in her 70s that just leisurely walks up to an enemy and blows their head off with a fucking handgun. Apparently you can do that with a 70-year-old woman who has no business doing anything like that. That's the big draw of this game, is you can be anybody. You can recruit anybody you want to DedSec, you know? So, looks pretty fun, but I'm cautiously optimistic about it. There's at least 12 unique sets of dialogue in the game, and they use a voice modulator to mix up things a little bit further. That's not going to come out till March 6th next year. Almost like 6 years, almost exactly 6 years after the first game came out, because I know that came out in 2014. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia's Rob McElhenney. I'm probably butchering his name. But that one dude from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has a new show spoofing game developers called Mythic Quest. And there's this new branch to it called Raven's Banquet that's probably going to be Apple TV Plus exclusive. I didn't catch that part. I know he said it's coming out on Apple TV, but I don't know. I guess that's the new rebranding because they killed iTunes and they brought back, like, they're doing Apple TV Plus and Apple Music now and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this. I mean, it could be great. I didn't chuckle once during the trailer they showed when they were trying to crack jokes about it. Like actually showing clips from the show, but I don't know. Video games! Rainbow Six Siege got a spot. There's a trailer for Operation Phantom Sight that starts tomorrow from the announcement, the day after it. It's starring a new hero named Warren, a Secret Service agent, so you got a little bit of British up in there. Brawlhalla got a spot. Jake and Finn from Adventure Time are going to be in it. They're available now. Decent Smash Brothers ripoff. It's not Smash Brothers, but then again, what is? But it's free. Brawlhalla is pretty sweet. I've played it a little bit. It's alright. Ghost Recon Breakpoint trailer. The sheriff from Walking Dead voices the main character of the wolves that are going to be the main antagonists, the main bad guys in this game. And you have to supposedly hunt them down. I guess they're like ghosts. So you're kind of having a shadow match against these guys, trying to hunt them down, and that's basically going to be the premise of this new game. There's a community program called Delta Company where you can share your feedback, and you know, if you're a prominent streamer or YouTuber, you can put it up on your channel and talk about it, and I guess you get a few little in-game perks here and there about that kind of stuff. Comes out October 4th for all modern platforms minus the Switch. Open beta starts on September 5th. And here's a mobile RPG trailer. Oh, more phone games. Hooray! A hero-themed strategy game called Tom Clancy's Elite Squad. That's what this was. You can pre-register for it now, but you actually have to go through the website and not the Play Store, at least on my Apple phone, and on my Android phone. I'm sure it's that way on Apple too, if you go into the store for that. I'm sure you can pre-register on iPhone as well. But spoiler alert for the rest of this conference, that's the only time Sam Fisher made an appearance in this entire conference, unless you count the backwards compatibility titles that were announced for Xbox One. But that's it. No Splinter Cell this year. Sorry. Which that was basically like a coin flip if that happened or not. Just Dance 2020 happened. They had a little dance party for that. But the big thing about this year is they're still making Just Dance for the original Wii. This guy right here. I could play Just Dance 2020 on this thing. Not that I'm like nutting in my pants too, but it's just weird that the Wii is pretty much immortal. You know, you're gonna have to call Christopher Lambert and slice this thing's head off with a sword, because apparently, you know, if there can be only one, he's got a little bit of trouble over here. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's a thing. The Wii is immortal, I guess. Well, mine still works. But yeah, that was the most interesting thing about that announcement. That comes out this November. And of course, it's coming to all modern platforms too. But I just find it funny that they went through the trouble making a copy for the original Wii. Okay, moving on. For Honor, of course, got a little bit of props. There's new content for that. There's the Shadows of the Hitokiri coming out. That goes until June 27th, so that recently just ended. Rainbow Six Quarantine is a thing. It's going to be a branch from Rainbow Six Siege, where it's 3-player tactical co-op, as opposed to PvP, which is basically what Rainbow Six Siege is. Like, did they know that there's this little game that exists called Killing Floor 2 that's been out for years, and it's been constantly being updated, and a lot of people play that, and that's co-op. Like, basically everything they're trying to do here, but then again, it doesn't have the Rainbow Six name, so who knows what's going to happen with that. The Division 2 got talked about a little bit. It was free to play from June 13th to the 16th. There's a trailer for the new Year 1 content that was broken down into 3 different episodes. Basically, with this new content, you're going to go out on the outskirts of DC, where most of the Division 2 has taken place in until now, do a few specialized missions, and have some new content in these new areas surrounding DC. And in Episode 3, which comes out next year, I think the first 2 episodes are coming out later this year. They're basically like about 3 to 4 months apart, the way he was talking about it, the developer on stage. Next year, it's going to be like a former guy who turned against the Division, I guess. You have to go hunt him down and take care of all that good stuff. So that's going to be the focal point of that. Then they talked about the Uplay Plus subscription for PC. They absolutely embarrassed themselves after Xbox came out and basically injected steroids into their Game Pass program with the Ultimate game subscription they did. $15 a month. This is only for PC games, but you're going to get the premium editions of games, plus access to new games like Xbox Game Pass does. Only there's going to be... This isn't going to be on consoles. There's going to be less games to play, and it's going to cost more money. Because if you just got Game Pass on Xbox, it would be $10 a month. You could play over 100 games. I thought there's going to be over 100 games on Uplay, just Ubisoft games proper. You know what I mean? Weird, whatever. Yeah. Oh, and not only that, but it's going to be available on Google Stadia. So not only if you buy in the Stadia, if you're like the craziest of crazy early adopters, and you're going to pay $10 a month for the basic tier of Google Stadia, but you also have to pay another $15 to play Ubisoft games on your streaming platform where you don't own any of these games. So, if you want to play any Ubisoft games on Stadia, yeah, that'll be a little extra as well, because you need the subscription in the subscription. It's subscription inception we're in right now. Before it was 3D TVs, remember that? Then it was VR, now it's fucking subscription. Subscriptions within subscriptions within subscriptions. It's like all these magazine subscriptions we used to have. that were a bitch to cancel. Now it's only somewhat more sad. September for early registration, if you want to do that. Oh, well, you'd have to do that if you want to get free access in September. You'd have to register before then. Roller Champions came out. This is basically Rocket League in a roller derby kind of setting. Like right down to one team being orange and one team being blue that they showed in the trailer. Like it's Rocket League. The demo's on PC today via Uplay from the 10th to the 14th, but there's no release date yet. Hopefully that doesn't take too long to come out. Could be interesting. And finally, our little Frenchman, Yves Guillemot, comes out for another year, thanking all the developers that came out on stage with the one final announcement. Everyone thought it was going to be Splinter Cell. Everybody who thought that was wrong. And they came out and introduced Gods and Monsters, which is going to be from the team that made Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and it comes out February 25th, 2020. That's basically all we know about this game. They showed like a fucking 15-second CG trailer, and that's how they ended the conference. Okay. That's great. I hope it's a great game, whatever it is. So instead of Splinter Cell, you guys got that. Maybe they're keeping the Splinter Cell announcement. Maybe they're going to bust their nut about that next year when we learn more about the new consoles, when they're eventually unveiled. Square Enix, I'm going to fly through real quick. Yeah, God, I still have to talk about Square, Nintendo, and the post-conference stuff. So let's try and speed this up a little bit. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Never thought I'd see it. It's actually coming out. It comes out March 20th of next year. I think it's the 20th. It's definitely March 2020. This game looks fucking amazing. I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy VII fan. I think the series personally peaked on the Super Nintendo, 4, 5, and 6. Final Fantasy IV being my favorite game of all time. 6 came very, very close, but I love 4 the best. It's my favorite game of all time. 7 is cool. It's cool. It has its problems. It drags on a little bit, but it's cool. Don't like the story as much as I did in 4 and 6. 5 was but 5 has... I still put 5 above 7 just because it has the placebo being between 4 and 6. The Super Nintendo games were just the best in that series. The best. But Final Fantasy VII, the remake looks awesome. They have this new hybrid battle system that's between real-time and the more traditional ATB time system that was in the older game. It looks gorgeous. The character models look great. Tifa's tits are still huge, so thumbs up for that. That's what everyone seems to be talking about. Not how this game's coming out soon, not how this game looks, not that it's going to be a PlayStation 4 exclusive, even though they've been re-releasing all these old Final Fantasy games on other platforms. Tifa's tits aren't big enough. How big do you want these boobs to be, guys? Like, she has to do martial arts fighting, like, demons and monsters and stuff, okay? She already has, like, enough extra support for those fun bags as it is, okay? Not really that big of a deal, okay? When I go back and think about Final Fantasy VII, I don't think about how big Tifa's polygonal breasts were. I think about the gameplay and stuff like that. So I hope people were being a little facetious with that stuff. But that's all, like, people on social media were blown up about Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, it looks great, but Tifa's boobs are a little small. Could you maybe, like, one of the developers actually had to come out. This was an honest-to-God headline I saw on IGN. I'm almost positive it was IGN. He came out and said, don't worry, they're going to move and they're going to jiggle. Great. Because it's not like we can all see tits anywhere else, okay? They're going to move like boobs, guys. Everything's good. Our national nightmare is over. Tifa's boobs are going to be just fine. Man. Oh, this is going to come on not one, but 2 Blu-ray discs. There's a collector's edition with Cloud on his motorcycle. When they're during that escape from Shinra segment on the first disc before they finally get out of Midgar. And apparently Jeff Gerstmann got word shortly after they showed off the game and everything. This collector's edition is going to cost $829. Okay, statue looks pretty fucking cool. Don't get me wrong, but it's not $829 cool. Okay, yikes. Cringy Life is Strange 2 gameplay trailer. Oh man, they showed the gameplay trailer for Life is Strange 2, which I don't know if it's a game I'd really showcase a lot of gameplay for. There's a lot of other games that could have had that, but whatever. But there's these, like, I don't know if there's these vloggers or something, but there's these people with headsets on, and it looks like they're live streaming the game, and it shows their reaction to everything that happens to the characters in game. Like, one of them gets hurt, and they all go, oh. They'll go, ooh. And if someone's happy, and they go, yay. I'm so sick of these, like, is society so fucking retarded that we have to be told how to react to stuff? It just takes so much out of it. Like, don't fucking tell me how to react to something. I want to do that on my own. That's part of my experience with this, okay? What the fuck was that? So cringy. Final Fantasy VIII is finally being remastered. I guess they found the source code to the game in whatever drawer in whatever attic at Square headquarters in Japan somewhere. They found it. I guess they lost the source code or they rebuilt it from the ground up. It looks very similar to how the original game looked, but that's cool it's coming out because pretty much all the other Final Fantasies like 7, 9, 10, 12, 11 was an MMO, so that really didn't get remastered, but I don't know if people are still playing 11. Final Fantasy 13 is now backwards compatible on Xbox One. I just recently got the whole trilogy for that for around like $20. That's cool because maybe I'll play that someday. So it's only fair that 8 finally gets a proper remaster to join all those, and it definitely is. It's coming out for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. All modern platforms later this year, so that's cool. I might actually go back and play it now. Because my first experience was 8 with 8, I can't talk anymore, was so bad. I pre-ordered it on $99.99 when I could have got a Dreamcast. I got Final Fantasy VIII. That, like, with the draw system, and, like, I just didn't get it. I guess I just didn't get it, because it was miserable. Like, I couldn't play more than, like, an hour or two of it. I just got totally bored of it. Turned me off of the whole series, pretty much, for years. Maybe I'll go back and play it now, you know, because, you know, you had to be bringing your A game when you follow up Final Fantasy VII, which 7 was fun, but 8 was just, it was nothing like that. But maybe I missed something. Like, there's other ways you could draw magic. There's certain spells you put on certain characters to via junctioning. You put elementals on people that give them stat boosts and stuff. I kind of missed the train on all of that. Like, I just didn't get it. So maybe I'll go back and give it another shot. Speaking of Final Fantasy, Crystal Chronicles Remastered is coming to PS4, Switch, and mobile this winter. Not Xbox One. Not sure why. I don't know. Like, World of Final Fantasy came out on Xbox One. 13's backwards compatible on Xbox One. So hopefully Crystal Chronicles, which admittedly was just a GameCube game back then. I think it got a Game Boy port at some point too, but it was primarily a GameCube game. So hopefully that gets the Xbox One treatment as well, because I never really played through it. Octopath Traveler is now on Steam, so that's cool. The Last Remnant is also getting a remaster. That's on Nintendo Switch. Dragon Quest Builders 2 is going to be a thing. Showed off plenty of gameplay. 4-player online co-op. That launches on July 12th, not too far away from that now on PS4, with a demo available starting June 27th. There's no Switch version because the first game got ported to the Switch. So that's not going to come out on the Switch. Maybe it will at a later date. Maybe it got announced to come out. I don't know. Dragon Quest XI, Echoes of an Elusive Age S Definitive Edition is coming to Nintendo Switch as well. There's a retro graphics option to make it kind of look like 16-bit or 32-bit. So it kind of has that, you know, back in the glory days of the JRPGs, it has that announcement, or it has that look to it, excuse me. That launches this fall. Circuit Superstars is a new Square Enix collective game featuring top-down racing with tactile physics. Tactile physics, excuse me. Set to arrive in 2020. Battalion 1944 was shown. It looks like a kind of a knockoff Call of Duty type game that's available now on Steam. Square Enix soundtracks are now available via streaming services like Spotify, also Apple and Amazon Music, among other services as well. Kingdom Hearts 3 is getting DLC called Remind that's coming this winter for PS4 and Xbox One. Final Fantasy XIV Online is getting new content that comes out on July 2nd. That actually just came out, the game's third expansion called Shadowbringers. Dying Light 2 was shown again. As I've said, that comes out next year. Romancing Saga 3, an old school SNES RPG that never got localized until now. I love that shit. Is now coming soon to PS4, Xbox One, Switch PC, and the PS Vita. Vita means life. Vita is getting a game. Because if the fucking original Wii from 2006 can get a game, why can't the Vita? So for the two of you that still have a PlayStation Vita, you can play Romancing Saga 3. Saga Scarlet Grace Ambitions is another Saga game. It's also coming to PS4, Switch, and PC as well. No Vita there. Sorry. That Steam ran out pretty quick, huh? I still want to get a Vita and soft mod it. Same thing with the 3DS. Those are the only two modern systems I have to get. Anyway, War of the Visions, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. It's a spin-off of the Brave Exvius mobile game. That's coming out soon. People Can Fly, the people who made Bulletstorm, announced Outriders. That's coming out this winter. Not a whole lot of info about that. There was a gameplay trailer for Oninaki from Tokyo RPG Factory. They made I Am Setsuna. That launches August 22nd on all modern platforms minus the Xbox One. Looks like a fun hybrid-like action RPG dungeon crawler type game. That looks pretty cool. And the last thing, kind of a letdown. They kind of ran out of steam with this announcement. This went on for like 20 minutes talking about, Marvel's Avengers. This is Crystal Dynamics' newest projects. The people that have been working on, I think they're the ones who made all the Tomb Raider reboots, right? So that new trilogy of Tomb Raiders done, that finished with Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now they're working on Marvel's Avengers. I guess it's like a third-person action type game. They showed snippets of gameplay. I think it was gameplay at least, not really enough to show, to get a really good grasp on what the game's going to be. But there's going to be 6 different heroes in it. They couldn't have made this segment more boring. Like, they went in depth talking about the Avengers, and they had like a fucking sit-down interview for at least 5 minutes with all the voice actors, like Troy Baker and Nolan North were both there, and they talked about being voice actors for the Avengers. Nobody fucking cares. Like, here's a hint, guys. If people are watching a video game conference, a yearly video game conference at E3, they probably know who the Avengers are. I'm not a big stickler for comic books or comic book heroes. I even know who the Avengers are, because my 3-year-old son is crazy about superheroes right now. But even then, like, I fucking knew who Captain America was. I knew who the Incredible Hulk was. Or Thor. Like, you don't need to beat this shit over my head. Like, they could have talked about everything they did in this last 20 minutes of this conference in, like, less than 5 minutes. I don't know why they dragged this out. They should have did the opposite, where they talked about this first, got this crap out of the way, and built up to the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm not exactly sure why they flip-flopped those two, but whatever. So it started out strong and basically kind of petered out. But that was Square Enix. That comes out May 15th, 2020, which is probably why they didn't show a lot, because that game is a long way off, a little less than a year. The DLC is going to be free post-release. PS4, they did a little dirty business exclusivity with Sony, so they're gonna, PS4 players are gonna get beta access first and a few other perks like they did with fucking Destiny when that first came out. Which is, it's whatever. I just hate when content gets splintered, gets favored on one platform, and everyone should be able to play everything. That's my thing. I just hate when it gets like exclusivity shit like that. It's just whatever, man. And then we get to Nintendo, which I'm probably sure you know by now, but they absolutely knocked it out of the park. Awesome Nintendo Direct this year. Granted, Microsoft and Sony are in a transitional year because they're getting ready to launch a new console next year, and the Switch is still selling like fucking gangbusters. It's going to probably end up being the most successful console they've ever had. Like, hasn't it sold out like the NES, and it's coming up on the SNES last time I checked, and that was months ago. It's probably going to sell just as much as the Wii, if not more, if it keeps going at this rate. And word on the street is they're talking about revisions to the console, but they haven't finished that yet. But we'll see. But Nintendo knocked it out of the park. Like, kudos to Nintendo. You know, there was no fluff in this conference. It was just game, 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 game. And it was games people were actually interested in. Such as the hero or descendant from Dragon Quest being introduced in Smash. Comes out this summer. Part 11 of Dragon Quest will also be on the Switch on September 27th. I think that was covered in Square Enix's conference. Doug Bowser, who took the place of Reggie Fils-Aimé, who retired from Nintendo, I think it was late last year, took his place. He makes his direct debut this year. Luigi's Mansion 3 they showed. Looks absolutely killer. No release date on that, but my money is on November and December because they like those holiday releases, because that's when the kids want Christmas presents. Nintendo's not dumb. They're a little too old-fashioned at times, but they're not dumb. There's a Scare-Scraper mode that I think was in the last Luigi's Mansion, where you could play like co-op multiplayer and go through the floors of the mansion. There's some new moves that they showed off. They actually showed gameplay, which kind of helps when you're talking about new additions to the new game coming out. But that game looks sick, man. Luigi's Mansion's pretty cool. Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance Tactics. Try saying that 10 times fast. Yeah, it rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? Note I put here. That comes out this year. It's going to coincide with a Netflix release of the TV show as well, so they're rebooting it on Netflix and making a game right alongside it, which explain the Netflix logos on the announcement screens for this game. The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening remake on Switch looks really cool. Some people are turned off by the graphics. I think they look kind of cool. They took a neat, unique approach with it, and I can't wait to play it. There's going to be tons of elements. It's going to be Link's Awakening, but it's going to be a reimagining of it, like graphics-wise. It's going to have all the same content. It's going to have the bonus areas from Zelda DX that were in the Game Boy Color version. If you remember the black cartridge that got re-released for Link's Awakening, there was a couple new things in that. It's going to be in this game as well. That comes out September 20th. Trials of Mana. This was cool. An action RPG featuring generations of mana heroes. That's coming to the Nintendo Switch in early 2020. That's a remake of the old game. And oh, by the way, just as a little thing they just kind of threw out there. Like, here's a little something something while you're waiting for the new remake of the new Trials game. Collection of Mana, including the previously Japan-only Seiken Densetsu 3. This is Secret of Mana 2. This is the very first time this game's going to come stateside. So it's Final Fantasy Adventure that was released on the Game Boy, which is actually the first in the Secret of Mana series. Then Secret of Mana on the Super Nintendo. Then Secret of Mana 2, which is Seiken Densetsu 3. It's finally getting localized. So cool. I already have it on my Switch. So cool to be able to finally play that in English. Granted, there's been an unofficial English translation. There's been a translated ROM out there for a while, but it's cool to finally see it get an official release. The Witcher 3 is coming to Switch, the complete edition of Witcher 3, because why not? They said they're not going to have, CD Projekt came out and said they're not going to have many performance issues with it. It's just going to be, UI adjustments is actually going to be the hardest thing for the transition to the Switch they were talking about. Fire Emblem Three Houses comes out July 6th, or 26th, I'm sorry. The next trailer, they showed a Resident Evil trailer that's basically just saying parts 5 and 6 are coming to the Switch this fall to go along with the other games that got ported to the Switch and remastered for other games. Suda 51's next game was announced. No More Heroes 3 comes out next year. A new Contra game was announced by Konami. Rogue Corps comes out September 24th. It has like a third-person perspective, like maybe more of like the 3D games from the PlayStation 1 era, which were kind of... but looks cool. But I recently heard from one of Jim Sterling's Jimquisitions, I think the post-Jimquisition from the first one he did after E3. It's going to have like cooldowns on some of the weapons, which completely breaks everything Contra is about. I hope that's not true. I hope that gets addressed. Because if you're going to go through all the trouble of releasing a new Contra game, why would you put cooldowns on the weapons? That's retarded. That's like it's like dying in a Mario game if you dare to jump with Mario. Like, it's just ludicrous. Like, you're breaking the basic fundamental gameplay element of the game. But we'll see when it comes out. I'm not going to make a full judgment on that game until I actually have it in my hands and play it. Has different characters, like a big panda bear and a ninja. Like, it could be good. You know, on top of the regular badass commando character you usually are. I don't know if it's Bill or Lance in this game, but I think one of them has to be there. Quick reminder that the Contra collection is available on the eShop later today, which I kind of have my qualms about that. I wish they, instead of giving us the Probotector variants of the games that got released in Europe, I wish I had like Contra 4 and Contra Shattered Soldier. Those aren't big games. While Shattered Soldier came out on the PS2, it was a CD-ROM based game, because I know I used to have it, and it had the blue back, which means they were CDs and not DVDs like the vast majority of PS2 games were. So there's no reason you couldn't have put that on a Switch cartridge or on the eShop. It's not that big of a game. But whatever. Maybe they'll add it as DLC later on, because they released the latest patch for those collections they recently released on the Switch and on other platforms as well that brought the Japanese variants of those games on, so who knows, maybe they could patch it in later. Daemon Ex Machina looks cool as shit. That comes out September 13th. Panzer Dragoon is getting a reboot or a remaster. It looks like from the first game. That comes out this winter. Okay. Speaking of like off-the-wall announcements, Shinya Takahashi came out to talk some Pokemon Sword and Shield. He reiterated a few things from the Direct they had before E3 talking about Pokemon. Those games come out November 15th and will be compatible with the little Pokeball Plus controller that came out with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, so that'll work. Platinum Games Astral Chain, they showed a gameplay trailer of that, looks fucking dope. August 30th for that. Romero Games is announcing a new game here with Paradox Interactive. It's called Empire of Sin. It's like this simulation type strategy game, and it's set in like 1920s Chicago. That's going to be very, very heavily focused on strategy and, keeping track. It's going to be a simulation strategy type game, like a deep one. It's going to be one of those. Like if you remember the old Gangsters game on PC, it's the way they're talking, it's going to be sort of akin to that, but of course better graphics and more features here and there, more modern features. It looks like XCOM with mobsters is basically the best way I can explain it. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is still coming. That's coming on the 19th this month, in July. Expansion passes available today will grant content to the game, and it'll expand the universe to people from X-Men, Marvel Knights, and Fantastic Four. That content comes out this fall. Trailer for Cadence of Hyrule, which is the Zelda spin-off from Cryptid the Necrodancer. That's been out. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games for Tokyo 2020. Looks kind of neat. It's going to be exclusive to the Switch. Not normally as repulsed by this as I normally would be, because I know I've cracked on Nintendo for those games before and their announcements before. That comes out in November. Animal Crossing New Horizons comes out March 20th next year. That was a bit of a delay. They said it was coming out later this year, but they want to put that special polish that goes on Nintendo games, which I don't mind at all. Not that I'm a huge Animal Crossing fan. I'd like to get into it if I have time. I could say that about thousands of games, though. But, it's nice that they care about the game that much and the franchise and their fans that they pushed it off just a little bit more to make sure it's extra good when it comes out. Some people say it looks more like a Harvest Moon type game, but I don't know enough about Animal Crossing to say that. Kind of looks like an Animal Crossing game to me, so we'll see when that comes out. There's a sizzle reel. Like, if they didn't show enough shit, there's a sizzle reel about Spyro the Dragon trilogy coming out September 3rd. Ni no Kuni comes out September 20th. Minecraft Dungeons is coming out spring next year. The Sinking City comes out this fall. Alien Isolation comes out this fall. That's getting a port. New Super Lucky's Tale comes out this fall. That's getting a sequel for some reason. Hollow Knight Silk Song, that didn't have a release date. Elderscrolls Blades, My Friend Pedro, that's already out. Wolfenstein Youngblood, that's coming out. Doom Eternal, that's coming out. Dead by Daylight, which is a fun horror multiplayer game. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered. Dragon Quest Builders 2, Stranger Things 3, the game. comes out July. It actually came out yesterday. Just Dance 2020, November 5th. Settlers of Catan, June 20th. That already came out. Dauntless this fall. That's a free-to-play Monster Hunter type game. And finally, Mario Maker 2 came out on June 28th. I pre-ordered that and got that. It's fun. Wish we got that stylus that you Europeans have. Have fun with that stylus, because we wish we had it. Maybe they'll release it in the future later. Who knows? Nintendo's get a Nintendo. And last, but certainly not least, they just showed just a little cherry on top of this beautifully crafted ice cream sundae that they made right on the Cold Stone in front of our very eyes. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild 2 is getting a sequel. They had so many DLC ideas for this game that they actually said, no, we're not going to nickel and dime our fans. We're just going to make a full-fledged sequel. Why don't we just start a sequel? And that's what they're doing. No release date. That probably won't be out for at least a year from now. Probably 2, I would say. Knowing how The Legend of Zelda has this new open world formula now, but it's going to be worth the wait. If it was anything like Breath of the Wild, a very critically acclaimed game, no, I have no problems with Breath of the Wild. Not too many, actually. It's a really good game. Really good game. The last boss was kind of easy. There's a little quirks I have with it here and there, but yeah, it was a great game. I put here no Bayonetta 3, no Metroid updates. They still want to pretend Pilot Wings and F-Zero no longer exist, but all in all, a damn good show. My hat's off to you, Nintendo. As far as post-conference news, Xbox is done with backwards compatibility for Xbox One. It's all hands on deck to get everything working for the next Xbox console that you can play on Xbox One now. Maybe they'll revisit making more 360 games backwards compatible and other older Xbox games. We'll see. Here's the final selection for original Xbox games coming to the Xbox One. Armed and Dangerous, underrated LucasArts game. Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb, Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy, Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow, Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, and Splinter Cell Double Agent, which was a different game than the 360 version. And Unreal Championship 2, the Leandri Conflict. That's weird. So if you want to fire up X-Link Kai and try and connect with people and play some Unreal Tournament, or Unreal Championship, excuse me, you can do that. Some rare games are being enhanced for Xbox One X, Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, a Banjo-Tooie, Cameo Elements of Power, Perfect Dark Zero, Viva Pinata, and Viva Pinata Trouble in Paradise. Which, speaking of rare, I forgot one of the most important announcements that people went apeshit for at Nintendo's conference. Banjo and Kazooie are finally going to be in Super Smash Bros. I don't know how I glazed over that, but that was one of the biggest announcements. And they did it at the very end. And I love how they did it with the dog and one of the ducks from Duck Hunt masquerading as Banjo and Kazooie. And then he pulls off the curtain or whatever that he was hiding under. And it was just the dog and the duck from Duck Hunt, which I'm sure pissed people off for a few seconds, but then Banjo and Kazooie came out. So that was a cute little reveal. Yeah, they're in Smash now. Or they're at least coming to Smash very shortly. And finally, the final collection of 360 games that will be backward compatible includes Ashura's Wrath, Battlefield 2 Modern Combat, which is the only Battlefield console game I have not played. Spoiler alert, I picked up a copy of that for $5 at a local game store. So I might do a video on that, again, whenever I have time, because I did videos on all the other Battlefield games. On console I missed out on, so why not that one? Enchanted Arms, Enslaved Odyssey to the West, Far Cry Classic, and Far Cry Instincts Predator, which that makes all the Far Cry games, as well as all the Splinter Cell games backward compatible, so that's cool. Infinite Undiscovery, Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official game of the movie, Prince of Persia, The Forgotten Sands, Skate. So we have Skate and Skate 3, but not Skate 2, and EA won't make Skate 4. That's weird, but whatever. Star Ocean: The Last Hope, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, Syndicate, 2 Human, which 2 Human was available for free. I think it's still available for free, so check that out. And Unreal Tournament 3. So, no Ant 3. Excuse me, no Lollipop Chainsaw. No Wolfenstein. The Wolfenstein that came out in 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. there was a few holdouts I had. There was a small list I had. So now one of my little projects I'm doing now is I'm going through all the Xbox 360 games, seeing which ones are exclusive to the system, seeing which ones I can play on other platforms, seeing if I want to hunt down the discs for them, because I still have my 360 upstairs in storage, because I didn't know how many games were going to be on backwards compatible that I wanted to play, as opposed to games I'd have to track down on disc, but I might have to do that now, so I'm calling a list together for that. So that's one of my little projects. Maybe I'll start collecting 360 games, having a collection of those that didn't make the cut here, unfortunately. To be fair, they literally made a fourth of the entire 360 game library backward compatible, so you got to give them props for that. Of course, this list wasn't going to please everybody, but they did a damn good job regardless. Especially some of the games that are enhanced resolution if you have an Xbox One X and a 4K TV. So we'll get into the other announcements, and I'm going to wrap this up. I've probably been going for at least 2 hours now. Red Dead Redemption 2 original soundtrack is coming out later this summer. Last of Us Part 2 has a rumored release date of February next year. Mortal Kombat 11 finally received a seasonal ranked mode. Google Stadia devs were asked if you would be able to change your name on the service. They said yes, but it's only free the first time. I touched on that. Dr. Mario World, speaking of mobile games, this is one I'm kind of interested in because I'm a huge Dr. Mario fan. Comes out the 17th of this month. Pre-registration was open, I think, for about the past couple weeks at least. So I pre-registered it. I know it's on the Google Play Store. Is it on the App Store for Apple? I have no idea. Breath of the Wild 2 started because Nintendo had way too many DLC ideas. I touched on that. Project Scarlet will play every game the Xbox One can. We touched on that. Metroid Prime 4 is still alive and well, since news broke out recently that Retro Studios, who's making it, is hiring for a key role in the development team for it. So I hope development isn't too sidetracked for it if they're still looking for people, or maybe they want to bring additional people on to get it done faster. Who knows? I just know that, if they're hiring for more positions on the dev team, the game's still alive and well and going just fine. And that'll be revealed when it's revealed again. Let's see. The infamous cross-dressing scene will be there in all its glory. When Final Fantasy VII asked about that, what the fuck is it with you Final Fantasy VII fans and the sex questions? Weirdos. Are we still jerking off over video game characters? Porn is everywhere. I totally stole that line from Maddox's latest video, but still, he's right. I mean, if you're gonna jerk off over tits, why not actually look at porn and jerk off over nice, big, juicy ones? Or small ones, if you're into that, whatever, but there's real tits out there you guys can gawk at. I'm just saying. And women too, if you're into that sort of thing. Hey, whatever floats your boat. Whatever gets your motor going, okay? I'm not here to judge whatsoever. Except if you're making a shitty Commander Keen game that has nothing with Commander Keen. Okay, enough about that. Eiji Aonuma, I'm totally butchered his name, the main guy who's behind the Zelda series now. He had a little bit of an interview post E3 talking about upcoming Zelda games and what's going on there. The Breath of the Wild sequel will be unrelated to Majora's Mask. He comments on co-op and playing as Zelda in the Breath of the Wild sequel, so it's going to have a co-op element to it. No one that's working on the Link's Awakening remake, reboot, whatever you want to call it, I thought this was an interesting little tidbit, was on the original Game Boy team except Shigeru Miyamoto, technically. So no one else that was involved with the original game is on this game. But it's Nintendo, it's a first-party title, so I know they're going to take their time with it and everything and make sure it's okay. The Chamber Dungeon and the Dungeon Builder that they showed off at the end of Link's Awakening in that trailer was Miyamoto's idea. That was actually the initial cause for remaking Link's Awakening. So that's interesting. Were they trying to build Zelda Level Maker to go along with Mario Maker? But they decided to just, fuck it, let's remake Link's Awakening? That's interesting. Just a few more things here. The Color Dungeon from Zelda DX is going to be in it. Link's Awakening amiibo unlocks Shadow Link, once you get that. Breath of the Wild's developers played Red Dead Redemption 2 for inspiration. No big shock there. That was pretty much Game of the Year last year, as far as I'm concerned. Hiroyuki Miyasako, who played a supporting character in Yakuza 6, has been suspended by his talent agency along with other people due to an alleged link to an organized crime group. He plays Tsuyoshi Nagumo. I haven't played much of the Yakuza games, so I don't know if I butchered that too. But yeah, apparently him and a bunch of other comics, they do stand-up comedy, so they went to this show that was organized by this underground crime group, and they all got paid for it, so that's their link with fucking crime organizations now, so a whole bunch of them got suspended from their talent agency, and that's apparently a huge thing in Japan. That's a huge no-no, so he might get pulled from the game indefinitely. I don't know if they're going to replace him or like retroactively put another voice actor in there. Like, I don't know how long they're going to go with this, but people who make Yakuza aren't too happy with that. EA Access is finally coming to PS4 this month, July 24th it's going to come out. Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo have something else in common other than being major players in the game industry. They all headlined a letter and sent it to the Trump administration talking about how these new tariffs are going to be bullshit, and I think the administration backed down on these tariffs because they were going to make, it was going to affect video game consoles, and everyone from Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony, it was weird, they talked about this on one of the latest bombcasts. I'm representing the crew here that I listen to every week. Love the guys. They talked about how it was weird. Apparently Brad found a PDF file and it had the head letter, had all on the heading of the note, had all three companies' logos like side by side there. They were standing in unison against this, which they should because it's bullshit. Our government's fucking us enough. They're going to fuck us even more with this little gem right here. It's going to make everything more expensive. The consoles are going to be more expensive to produce, to import. The end users, the people like us who buy these consoles, are going to see a price hike because they got to make up the price somehow. It's like a 25% increase from imports from China. Like, what the fuck? Like, what's that going to solve? I don't know. But latest news I've heard on it is they backed down on it and they're revisiting it or something. I don't know. EA defends loot boxes by calling them surprise mechanics. Yeah, and me pirating games is financially advantageous because I'm not paying for them. See, I can do bullshit speak too. But apparently someone from the legal team, or the head of the legal team, I don't know who she is, made a complete ass out of herself when she went to this government hearing where they talked, because the government's involved in this discussion about how if loot boxes are ethical or not. And she made a complete ass out of herself, like completely twisting her words, squirming around in her seat, like she just completely bombed. Like I can't imagine they took a word of what she said seriously, because they asked her point blank, do you think this is ethical or not? And she could not give a straight answer to it. And when they tried to call them loot boxes, she said, no, they're called surprise mechanics. Because don't you know, people love surprises. Kids love surprises. That was her damage control, representing Electronic Arts and how they're, penny pinching, nickel and diming all the people who buy their fucking video games, myself included. Like, I never fell into the deep hole of microtransactions, but a lot of people have. A lot of people buy that shit, especially on like FIFA and Madden. That's a huge fucking business. Huge. Like billions of dollars, huge. Just on microtransactions alone all over the world. And it's predatory in some cases. And, kids who don't know any better, they'll buy this stuff, not realizing how much little value it has to them and how much value it has to Electronic Arts. But that was her damage control. Part of their legal team went in front of the government to a hearing and basically tried to rebrand loot boxes right there on the spot and failed miserably doing it. What the fuck? Bunch of fucking scumbags. Like, really? Like, you got put on the spot by the government. Like, this, now we're got to put on our big boy pants and try and fucking settle this, because you guys had to be way too fucking greedy to the point where the government has to step in and go, okay, what the fuck's going on here? Because a lot of people are complaining about what you're doing. You just couldn't help yourselves. So now here we are. Now you're in front of the government trying to rebrand loot boxes as something else, trying to pretend it's better than loot boxes? What the fuck is wrong with you? Assholes. Did you learn nothing from the Battlefront 2 debacle? Nothing. You're just going to let that blow over, and you're going to rebrand loot boxes, and you're going to go pulling the same fucking shit all over again, right? Fuck EA, man. Fuck you guys. You guys just don't get it. There's a new playable demo for World Rally Championship 8 out. It was shown. It's not out. Excuse me. Gameplay was shown. The game comes out in September for all current platforms. Nintendo is standing firm against crunch culture. All the stories that are coming out about crunch, which is great. Affirming that it will not release a game before it's finished, as it should be. A reboot of the classic fighting game Samurai Showdown has been released, and I think this is still going on. If you go on the PSN store or the Xbox Live store, the Season Pass is actually available for free right now. You don't have to own the game. Go and check if it's still free, the Season Pass is. I'm not sure. I went ahead and redeemed it because, someday I might grab Samurai Showdown when it's on sale. The gameplay looks cool. But yeah, check that out if you think you're going to get that game in the future. Raspberry Pi 4 was announced, and it's coming out later this year. It features more memory as well as better USB and better network performance, so they're continuing to enhance that. I've waffled around if I want to buy like a Raspberry Pi for my emulators, because I want to build like an emulator machine. Really, I want to build like a home arcade, like a battle station full of like every game from every platform and every game from every region and every variant of every game. Like I want to build like a little video game museum, which is why much earlier in this video I talked about how important video game preservation is. Because, it's cool. You want to go through all that stuff, no matter how good or bad it was or what platform it was on. You need to preserve this stuff, because it's so cool to show people that more and more people are getting into this hobby. And, when I want to play a game, I want to immerse myself in an entire game series. I want to see how it started, how it was built, what the inspiration was, how the sequel was made, how all the other future games were made. If the series is still being made or it's not being made, I want to know how. Like, I want a complete start-to-finish timeline and all the games in between. And we really all got to step up on our game and with video game preservation. And really, the biggest contributors that can contribute to that are people who own the intellectual property, own the rights to these games, and still have the masters somewhere for these games. You got to back those up. You got to make them available. If you don't want to do it, give them to someone else who does. There's like Frank Cifaldi and people out there like that really want to preserve all this stuff, and rightfully so. It's very important to people who love this hobby. Like, I'll always love this hobby, and I know I'm not the only one. Flappy Royale is a thing that exists. No, I didn't stutter. No, it's not 2013. This is something that actually exists. It's a battle royale game of Flappy Bird. Remember Flappy Bird back in 2013? Some guy over in Korea or Thailand or whatever made this stupid little game, and it got like 1 billion downloads in a week, and he made like a small fortune off of the fucking game. You can play it through a web browser, and I think it's available on phones as well. 2 million games over the first 2 days. So Flappy Bird is alive and well in 2019 for some reason. Terraria just recently came to Switch. And I know in the PC Game Conference, one thing I forgot to mention is they also talked about Terraria. New content that's coming to that game on PC as well. That's also coming to the Switch. Or no, it recently did. I'm sorry. Let's see. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night recently came out, despite a game-breaking bug that was caused by an update. If you started the game before you updated it. And there's performance issues on the Switch, but regardless of that, they're sorting out the bugs for that, and it's a really good game. I just played a little bit of that. It's cool. It's basically Symphony of the Night 2. And I got someone calling me, so I got to wrap this up. One Punch Man is getting its first ever console game based on the series. It's coming soon to PS4, Windows, and Xbox One. Remedy just got the publishing rights back for Alan Wake. This was something that just recently happened. So maybe that'll mean a re-release on other consoles. Maybe it'll mean a newer Alan Wake game. They got to release Control first. I know they're still working on that, but maybe Alan Wake will get revisited. Who knows? And also, there's one more announcement here. Let me see what it is here. It's a popular YouTuber, Atika. was found dead, unfortunately. He was 29. What better way to end this video on? But yeah, I guess the guy had mental health issues. Really sad what happened to him. It sucks. It's really tragic news. He was way too young. I didn't personally watch a lot of his videos. I know he focused heavily on Nintendo content, but it's really a shame. And mental health is something I take very seriously. I do a community walk for suicide prevention, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I do every year, once a year. That's what these bracelets are for. So it's something I take very seriously. And I just want to take a moment and say before I end this, if you're having mental problems, please go talk to someone. You are worth it. Suicide is never the answer. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel, I promise you, no matter what you're going through. You're not as alone as you think you are. There's a lot more people that share your struggles, more than you know. And there's a lot of people that have pulled through it. And we want you to stay here and enjoy life and give yourself a chance. Really tragic what happened to him, but I hope he's in a better place now. That's really all I have to say about it. I haven't done a lot of research on it. I just know it's sad, and it's something that's very close to me, and something I take very seriously. And that's it. That's all I have to say. Yeah, E3. We'll see what the new consoles hold in store next year. Some cool announcements this year. And we'll see what happens. I will make more videos when I have time soon, I promise. I haven't had a chance to do it. I miss making videos for you guys. The 5 of you who watch them for some reason, but I enjoy doing them. But I'm glad I got to vent, talk about what happened at E3. Sorry this video's so late, but I gotta cut it off now and take this call that's been calling me. So have a good night. I hope you guys had a safe July 4th. I hope you guys have a great summer, and I will see you guys very soon. Okay? Moraduke out. Have a good night, guys.